Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this fifth installment of the Turn 4 Sparks Controversy podcast. It is currently, as of this recording, March 2nd, 2024, which today can only mean one thing. Again, as of this recording, this can only mean one thing. F1 is back. 2024 season is just getting started. Bahrain Grand Prix, again, as of this recording, has just concluded. I'm on with my F1 colleagues, Dave Campos and Bryce Warren. Dave, who's been on numerous podcasts at this point of Turn 4 Sparks Controversy. Bryce, you've been on one of the episodes, which was episode 3, when we discussed NASCAR stuff. Dave, Bryce, how are y'all?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Right, so going to straight to business. The Bahrain Grand Prix from earlier today, well, just now, as we're recording this, as the race literally just finished up. Dave, did you watch the whole thing? Because I did.
Yes, I did.
Bryce, did you?
I watched from lap 12 onward.
Without falling asleep.
I did once.
No cap, you fell asleep.
Not even drinking a NOS energy drink kept me awake watching that.
Welcome to the F1 2024 season. That's all I'm gonna say. Dude, you even said it yourself. There was already people already saying that Max Verstappen's got this championship wrapped up. When we just completed
And it's
round
like,
1.
isn't it obvious?
Dude, we just completed the
Isn't
first
it
race.
obvious? They know. They know already. Everyone knows. Everyone knows exactly what we're in for yet again this season. It's like, dude, are we in 2023 or are we in 2024? I can't tell. I'm not so sure because it feels like a rerun of the last 2.5 seasons. Are we in the new year? I don't know if we are. I could be wrong.
You're just waiting for 2025, aren't you?
Dude, I'm going to be honest with you. To be real with you, 2025 is going to be the same. I'm going to keep saying this until something changes because it's just the truth at this point. Until Verstappen has someone close to his level that can actually challenge him for the championship, or not even just that, until he has someone close to his level that can actually best him on a weekly basis, we're just going to be stuck watching the Max Verstappen show week in and week out every single season because he has nobody close to his level right now to even challenge him at all. He doesn't. Who's challenging him? No one.
Dave, do you agree with Bryce's point or do you disagree?
I mean, it's the first race, so anything can happen. This is going to be a long calendar.
At 1 down, 23 more to go.
Don't mind me if I cough a little bit every now and again. I've had this cold the last couple days. I'm just about getting over it, hopefully. But yeah, just a little disclaimer. Just figured I'd just bring that up. I've been sick the last couple days.
Yikes! Sorry
Yeah,
about
I've been
that.
sick the last few days. It's a minor cold, thankfully. It's not COVID or anything crazy. It's just a minor little thing. I've just had a cough and like a runny and stuffy nose last couple days, but I feel like I am getting there. But just figured I would just point that out.
Either way, hope you recover.
So if I cough every now and again, I apologize.
All the same, I hope you recover soon from the cold that you're having.
You and me both. I hate this.
You also hate Max Verstappen winning on a week-to-week basis.
Yes.
Wait, if we would rewind the clock 20 years and earlier, would you say the same thing when Michael Schumacher was winning everything?
I was gonna be honest with you.
I got you with that one.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows this at this point. F1 has always been like this. This is nothing new. F1's always been like this, where you have one team or even just one driver dominating for the long periods of time. Everybody knows that at this point.
What if I told you this is a thing?
I'm a guy. I like Schumacher. I do. But even Schumacher winning a lot would get boring after a while too. Even though I like him.
I'm going on a limit in saying this.
I'm going to keep the same energy with it. I'm keeping the same energy here. Same energy.
Even when Lewis was winning?
Even when Lewis was winning, same thing. Even that gets boring after a while too. Just watching the same guy just blow away the field every single week. As fun as it is when you're a fan, it's just yeah.
I mean, yeah, to a point, it does get a little boring.
Even if we rewind the clock to 1988 when McLaren won 15 out of 16 races. But if we want to go even further, to the inauguration of the championship in 1950, Alfa Romeo won every single race. So, yeah, it's been a thing since the start.
Unfortunately.
But regarding today's race, though, your top three, a Red Bull 1-2 finish, Verstappen winning by over 22 seconds over his teammate Checo Perez, and Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari rounding out the podium. Surprised? Because I'm not.
Nope. I'm not.
The rest of the race order: Leclerc fourth, George Russell rounding out the top five, Lando Norris in the McLaren finishes sixth, Lewis Hamilton finishes seventh, struggled to keep the car up to par, but he still got a top 10. But this is Lewis Hamilton speaking, so you expect better. Fifth, fourth, or higher than that. Oscar Piastri is eighth. Fernando Alonso is ninth, finishing ahead of his teammate Lance Stroll, running out the top 10 and the last car on the lead lap. Zhou Guanyu in 11th, Kevin Magnussen in 12th, Daniel Ricciardo in 13th, followed by his teammate Yuki Tsunoda in 14th, Alex Albon 15th in the Williams, Nico Hulkenberg in 16th, Esteban Ocon P17, Pierre Gasly P18, Valtteri Bottas P19, and Logan Sargent, yet another day to forget for him, 2 laps down, finishes dead last. Surprised?
Nope. It's not a surprise to me whatsoever.
Also, can I just say this one thing? How is Logan Sargent still here in F1?
Pretty sure because Williams doesn't have, pretty much qualified academy drivers.
Yeah, I was like, I don't even know what to say to that.
What do you have to say about this year's liveries? Starting with the Red Bull, the RB20.
Not much really to say. Same livery you've seen, the last 2 seasons? It's still good, but not much really to go off of.
Yeah, the same. No, nothing really to it.
Next in line is the Ferrari. Thoughts? Comments?
It's same as the Red Bull, It's pretty much the same. It doesn't really change.
There's a bit more yellow to it, though. Next in line is the Mercedes W15. What are your thoughts on the Mercedes? What?
It's trash.
Explain.
I looked at it. I literally had to take a closer look at it while watching. And they literally did was basically just keep the black and stuff from the same car last year. And then all they did was just mix that with the silver and the blue from the previous car. From, what is this car? This is the F1 W13 from 2022.
Yeah.
That's all they did. They kept the black and then just put the silver on it. It's like, what is that? What's going on here? What is that? Why would you combine both from the last 2 cars that you've had the last 2 seasons and just put them together like that? Pick one or the other. Don't do both.
Now, what
it doesn't look good.
Which would you have then?
If I'm going to be honest with you, I would rather have them do either just one or the other. Do it all black like they did last year, or they can go back to the one they had in 2022. Because don't get me wrong, I like the silver. The silver looks pretty good, but tell you what, I'd rather go back to just the all black, the one they had, what was it, back in 2021? Use that. Use that again. That was pretty good. Use that one.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Would you rather have?
I don't know. I mean, this is obviously just my opinion, but just seeing the two mixed together like that, it just seems off to me. It's such an eyesore to me. Like, I don't have OCD or anything, but I just don't like the look of that. It just doesn't fit well to me. I just don't really like it. I just don't like that one. It doesn't look good. To me, it doesn't look all that good.
Well, Dave, going back to you, which would you rather have, the silver or the black livery? For me personally, to keep it old school with the tradition, silver. Again, tradition, because it's known as the silver arrows for a reason. Next in line is the McLaren. Thoughts on this year's McLaren Challenger?
I like it a lot, actually. Tell you what, I'm actually kind of glad they did away with like the blue, because the blue kind of just the blue one, it didn't really make any sense. So them going back to the traditional, what is it? I think it's like the black, white, and orange. I think it is this year. It looks so much better. It looks way better. I really like that. They did the exact same thing with their the Indy cars this year as well. Like they, especially like with my favorite driver in IndyCar, Alexander Rossi, they went from like the blue, black, and orange, and now it's black, white, and orange, and it looks really, really good.
Yeah, I also really like the McLaren livery. Yeah, once they dropped that blue, it looked a little better.
Oh, Dave, I sent you some on Instagram DMs of. I came across a concept art of the McLaren paint scheme, obviously with this year's car, but with the West tobacco sponsorship.
Yes.
Man, if they went with that. I may be biased because I'm old school, but moving on, we have the Aston Martin. Again, thoughts and comments regarding this year's Aston Martin, even though it looks exactly the same as last year's, but you know.
Yeah, I was about to point that out. It's literally the exact freaking same as last year's, but hey, it works. I mean, that's another one of those schemes that's just, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's perfect just the way that it is. So I like it still. Just again, same thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It still looks good.
I mean, I think it's a little darker, but other than that, yeah, it's pretty much the exact same.
Next in line is the Sauber, or Hick Sauber, or Sprite. So I call it Sprite because of the color. But we're going to Sauber. Thoughts? Comments?
That's the green and the black one, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I love that scheme. That dude, just looking at it, that scheme popped. That one stood out the most to me while watching. I really, really like it. That's the one that really just stood out the most to me while watching. Not because especially because like if you look at it, it's a really bright green, especially under the lights. That just pops. Oh my god, it looks so good. I love it. It
So you're
looks
saying
really, really good.
So you're saying it's gorgeous, gorgeous looking.
Oh yeah. To me, I think it's probably the best one out of the liveries this season to me.
The best one.
So far, out of all the ones I've seen next to the McLaren, I think that I just like, don't get me wrong, like I'm not the biggest green person. It's one of my favorite colors, but it's not my favorite color. But just the green and the black, just especially with the green, it just stood out the most to me. I just really like the way it looked. It looks so good. Green and black, it works. I like it.
Well, we're going to go a bit off track here. No pun intended. You remember, Bryce, in your case, you remember Bobby Labonte's paint scheme, his Interstate Batteries livery from 2005? If we want to put it like that,
I do.
If we want to put it like that, do you like that paint scheme?
I do.
Now, here's the question. Is it better than this year's Sauber F1 car?
Ooh.
Got you with
Tell
another
you
one,
what?
didn't I?
Tell you what, I'm actually going to say yes, because I really, really liked Bobby Labonte's Interstate Batteries cars in the 2000s. Obviously, you can't pass up the ones he had, in the very early 2000s, like in 2001, 2002. But the one he had from 2003 to what is it, so 2005? Oh my God, those schemes were just beautiful. I just loved the rush of you just have the bright green, and then just I'm gonna try to put it just the pattern, black and red. It just looks so good. It's one of those cars in the field that instantly you could pick out. It just stood out because of the bright green and everything with it. It just looks so good.
And extremely gorgeous to look at.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Bobby Labonte actually won a couple races in that particular livery. Once in 2002, two times in 2003, and that was it. But going back on the subject, Dave, your thoughts on this year's Sauber F1 car?
Yeah, I would put it as one of the best looking liveries on the grid.
Can the same be said for this year's Haas?
Oh, Haas. Yeah, the Haas cars do look good. Obviously, they're not really going to do anything, but yeah, the Haas cars still do look good, though. They look good, but man, I don't even know what to say about Haas anymore.
Yeah, because they're on the midfield, if not in the back most of the time.
I mean, it's the same. They don't really change, so it's okay.
Next in line, Visa Cash App Red Bull. In my case, Toro Rosso. Thoughts on this year's Toro Rosso machine?
It was a pretty good looking scheme for sure. I mean, the blue definitely stood out to me for sure. That's another one that really stood out to me. Just the blue and everything looked really nice. I want to say, God, was it like a? I was like a really like a dark blue. I think is from when I was looking at it. It was like a really nice dark blue. I liked it a lot. So that one and the green and the black, and even the McLaren, but especially those two. Those are the ones that stood out to me the absolute most. Those are the three schemes that really stood out. Well, liveries, I should say, that stood out the most to me.
Yeah, I mean that's. I'm just gonna say Toro Rosso because that's pretty much that livery. Just having the different having the Visa and the Cash App on the car, but pretty much is a Toro Rosso.
Exactly.
And also that pretty much is the pretty much fully painted car on the grid.
Can you say the same for this year's Williams machine?
Yeah, even the Williams cars do look good. They don't look too bad. Even the Williams are.
I mean, yeah, I like the Williams. I mean, they have the Duracell on the airbox, so yeah, it looks pretty good.
And another thing to know about this year's Williams Challenger, the steering wheel is different this year. Dave, you remember 2014 to 2023, they had the exact same wheel design.
Yes.
But for this year, they've changed it. That caught me by surprise. And I remember sending it to you, the difference between both Williams steering wheel designs. You said this year's design was the best one.
Yeah, I do like this one, but during the race, it seemed like it was more distracting because it's a night race. It seemed like it was more bright. So I know Albon, he was like he couldn't really see because the screen was a little too bright.
Well, didn't they have some sort of setting on the buttons where they can turn down the brightness on the steering wheel?
They can, but I'm not sure how easy that is while you're doing that during the race.
You're doing 170, 180 plus miles an hour.
And of course, on the straights, you'll be at the breaking point by the time you even get to what you need to.
And last but not least, we have the Alpine.
Oh my God! Well, it's pretty much gonna be how they are be in the standings, probably towards the back.
Like at
the
at the bottom of the barrel, you mean?
Well, not only their performance and race, or just pace in general. Yeah, well, that's the. I mean, it's pretty much the same. Like they're gonna run two different liveries because they're gonna have the pink car for the certain races, but not really. It's not really surprising. Yeah.
I agree. I'll be honest. Looking at the Alpine, especially looking at it just a minute ago, just like, oh my goodness. I mean, you could definitely say this car is not boring. I don't know. I just feel like looking at it again, it's like they mix the pink and the black together, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not liking this one too much. It has the same feel as how their performance is. Bottom of the barrel, back of the pack. It doesn't look good to me. I don't like it. I don't like this one.
And it was pretty much the right decision for both Piastri and Alonso to get out of that team.
And they got out of the team at the precise time, considering where they are now regarding the Alpine team.
Well, were they finished at today's race? I know they were toward the back.
Alpine
I think-
drivers finished 17th and 18th. And the
Yeah,
qualifying performance wasn't much better. They were 19th and 20th. Again, at the bottom
Yeah.
of the barrel.
No,
I'm surprised.
they're gonna struggle unless they bring upgrades. I'm not even sure the upgrades are gonna do anything.
So you're saying
Yeah,
even with the upgrades, so you're saying even with the upgrades, Alpine will still be struggling immensely.
I think that car is like overweight, so they're gonna struggle with that.
Well, with Max's win, you know what I just realized? If he gets one more podium, he'll hit 100.
I heard they were talking about that. I think hasn't he matched like he's matched Schumacher and a few others with poles or something.
I think he had.
I don't remember.
At this point, man, Max has won so much these last couple of years, 2023 especially. I've lost count of his stats at this rate, except his 19 out of 22 race win ratio from last year, which, Dave, you remember we covered that up when we recapped the whole 2023 F1 season.
Yes.
I think we mentioned that at the end of that podcast episode, we were going to discuss our predictions for this year's F1 season.
Yes.
Next on the calendar, again, as of this recording, which is March 2nd, 2024, next on the calendar is Saudi. Who we got for pole?
I'm gonna say Leclerc. Because if you saw qualifying, Q2, Leclerc was actually the fastest. He had the fastest time.
He did. I
But
remember that.
even faster than Max's pole time.
And I noticed, I don't know if they showed on the ESPN graphic, but when I was watching on F1 TV, they showed the track map where Max had the advantage and where Charles had the advantage. Charles had the advantage on the corners. Max had the advantage on the straights. Saudi, with all those straights, I'm going on a limb and say it's Max winning the pole. Bryce, you can probably agree with me with what I just said.
Yep. It wouldn't surprise me, but it obviously also wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, if Charles does win the pole because Charles, especially everybody in the field, I feel like Charles is definitely at his best when it comes to qualifying, definitely. But the only problem is sometimes he's not able to put all that qualifying speed into the race. That's one of the biggest issues with Leclerc to me.
And it's been an issue for how long now? Since 2019?
Pretty much. And I love Leclerc, obviously. He's one of my favorite drivers, but good Lord, I don't know what it is. He puts very fast qualifying laps down, but then once the race comes in, I don't know what it is. I feel like he just has those. It's like you watch him in the early portion of the race, and then he either A, makes a mistake that puts him back or wrecks himself, or he has a problem. It's like you think that he would have gotten rid of those jitters after year 3 or something, but he hasn't.
I still won't forget Monaco 2022. Dave, you remember that race where they called him in, right? But then at the very last minute, they told him to stay out when Charles was already in the pit lane.
Yep.
Wait, was that Monaco 22? I think that was.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
I remember that like it was yesterday. Oh my God, that was so stupid.
You think?
And I think he had a chance to win and everything too, and they screwed him so bad.
Yes,
by doing
did.
that.
He even had a chance at the podium.
Oh my, that makes me mad. I remember that like it was yesterday. Oh my God, that was so stupid. That was one of the dumbest strategy calls ever. That was one of the dumbest things Ferrari has ever done during a race. That was so stupid.
You want to know something funny right here, right now? This is not the first time. Dave, I don't know if you remember this, but You remember the 2009 Malaysian Grand Prix, right?
Yes.
I'm trying my best not to laugh right now because it's that damn stupid.
I believe it.
Dave, do you remember when Kimi Räikkönen was called in to box, right?
Right.
And rain was on the way, right? But here's the thing: the track was still dry. They called him in, and they put him on full wets while the track was still dry.
Oh, and that's Ferrari's become infamous for some awful strategy calls. Like, the last, like, I don't know how many years at this point.
Apparently,
I mean,
for
just
15
like
years now.
I mean, pretty similar to 22 Hungary.
When they put Leclerc and Sainz on the hard compound, when they knew that's the slowest compound.
Not only that, but they got their data from, was it Alpine or some other team? They knew that the hard tires was poo poo, and the medium and softs were ideal for that track.
Mainly the mediums, if you're going for a long stint.
Yes.
For the softs, that too, but your tires will wear out extremely fast. It's best you go for the medium
Well, I'm
tire.
saying that those two compounds were just ideal for that weekend. Hards shouldn't have been in there.
Exactly, because the amount of low grip of those things. Predictions for the podium of this upcoming race at Saudi. Who y'all got?
Well, I already know for a fact Verstappen's going to win again. Perez is probably going to finish second. And I'm probably going to end up putting probably Leclerc third, to be real. So I see it again being another Red Bull 1-2, and then you'll have Leclerc finishing third. If something doesn't happen to him, I think he'll finish third.
Well, I do not like Max at all, so I would put anyone on the top set besides Max. So
Despite the fact that you hate him.
yeah, I wouldn't put anyone at first, second. Just based on today, I know Sainz will be up there, probably third, second. Yeah, probably Perez. I mean, depending on how he does, but yeah.
Anything could happen, and it usually does. You remember 2022 when Leclerc and Verstappen were putting up a fight for the lead?
Yeah, because the DRS, they were pretty much what Leclerc did in Bahrain. He utilized the DRS detection zones.
Which he did. Now we come to Australia for round 3 in the championship. Who we got for pole?
Do I even need to say it?
Yes.
Verstappen.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put Sainz. I'm not gonna say Max at all. So
You hate Max that much, huh?
Like me. Like, I absolutely freaking despise Verstappen, but of course, at the end of the day, I already know what's about to happen.
Because it's inevitable
and
at this point.
during the multiple podcasts, I think I've said this before. I don't like Max at all, even before the 21 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So I did not like Max when he entered the sport.
So you did not like Max since 2015.
Yeah.
Holy goddamn. So it's been a thing since the beginning.
Yeah.
I can only imagine 2021 was one hell of a ride, given how much of a title showdown or championship. You know what I'm trying to say here. The epic battle between Verstappen and Hamilton that year.
Well, Max should have been penalized on multiple occasions, but because of the race director at the time, didn't want to interfere with the championship.
Well, there was one instance, you remember Bahrain, the season opener,
Mm-hmm.
when Max had the track limits, had to get the position, which he did.
Yep.
But there was one race in particular outside of Abu Dhabi, Silverstone. Bryce, I think you
Dear
dubbed that.
God.
Didn't you say in the moment when the infamous part happened, you dubbed that as a racing incident, if I'm not mistaken. Again, in that moment.
Dude, everything about that start to that race and just everything that I had to see on this, not even just on social media, but like on YouTube, just everywhere. Just everything I had to see from literally fans, just straight up fans, just almost calling for Hamilton's head after that was one of the most, and part of my French here, like, excuse my language here, but it was one of the most idiotic things that I have ever seen in my life. And I'm not even just saying it because I'm a Hamilton fan. It was just one of the most ridiculous things I had ever seen. People were really going after Lewis like he tried to kill Verstappen. It was that bad. It legitimately makes me angry talking about it because of just how ridiculous it is. How awful fans chose to be that day.
And not to mention when the crash happened, when Verstappen crashed out, fans were cheering at that moment. You could even hear the crowd cheering.
And it's like, if you want to be 100% honest here, I still stand by exactly what I said during that time when that happened. That was a racing deal. That wasn't payback. That wasn't any of them taking each other out on purpose. That was two guys both knowing what was at stake. Yes, it may have been early, but at the same time, it was a racing deal. It was both guys going for the same real estate, and it just didn't work out. That's all that it was. No one really did anything wrong in the situation. It was just the both of them going for it, and they just both ran out of real estate. Yes, could they both have backed off? Sure. But are they going to? No.
I mean, I was one of those people that cheered.
Oh boy.
But Hamilton still won, even though he did get penalized.
Yeah, because he got a 10-second time penalty.
And then we still won the race anyway.
Exactly.
Even with that time penalty.
Yep.
So it didn't even really matter.
Exactly.
If you want to keep it even realer, to be honest, Verstappen really did it to himself because he ran Lewis out of room.
Agreed.
If we really want to be logical here, he ran him out of room.
Agreed.
Well,
He didn't give him any room going into that corner.
Well,
What do you think was going to happen?
Based on the onboard, it looks like Verstappen kind of turned just slightly earlier where Hamilton was. He was going to pretty much, he did to himself. So,
Which he did. He did turn in a bit earlier than Lewis did. I remember. I'm just remembering this in my head because it's etched in my brain. And then they made contact, and we all know what happened after that. Though I feel like Charles Leclerc had that in the bag. Because Dave, do you remember Charles Leclerc was leading for most of the race?
yes.
Do you also
Excuse me,
remember
sorry.
when he had a power unit problem or some sort of mechanical fault that slowed his progress down?
I think it was a power unit.
It was a power unit problem from what I can remember. But he still finished on the podium regardless. And one of the races Charles Leclerc has won in his career was Australia, which was 2022. That's round 3 on the schedule. Dave, you said you got science for pole.
I mean, science is going to do everything to show that Ferrari made a mistake and going to replace him. So,
And Bryce, you said Verstappen.
Yep.
And the race, who we got for the podium, and let's hope to God we don't have a repeat of last year. Dude, Bryce,
It might just be a repeat of last year.
Didn't you say last year's race in Australia regarding the finish was colder?
Oh my God.
Your
Dude,
words, not
I'm
mine.
still gonna say it now. That finish to that race, it made no sense in my opinion to have them. I think they red flagged the race and then they got them right back out just so they could all just take each other out on the very first turn. It made zero sense, and it just gave the win to Verstappen. Like it was like they may as well have just given the race to Verstappen anyway under the red flag. It made no sense to have to restart again because then, of course, as you saw, they all just lost their minds and took each other out. Yeah, the Alpine teammates took the Alpine cars took each other out too.
I mean, they had like 3 restarts. Yeah, and also, well, it really it was really bad luck for the both Alpines.
Literally, like I just remember watching that. I was just like, well, I guess I don't feel as bad now being a NASCAR fan watching this now.
Like
now I don't feel as bad.
Like Australia last year topped when they I think it was the first race they did at Mugello with that multiple car
2020
collision during
I remember.
Yeah.
Multiple cars crashed.
But Australia topped that because the Mugello that was just unusual how that crash happened.
How that unfolded. But with last year's Australian Grand Prix, that was a whole nother can of worms, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Bryce, as you said to me last year, that was Coda on steroids. Again, your words, not mine.
It was. I literally, because of course, watching Coda, of course, as a fan, of course, we all saw how that race went. With just the whole race itself was beautiful, majestic for a long time. I mean, even at one point, you had Byron and Tyler Reddick. They were just swapping the lead back and forth, just racing with the most respect, just racing so beautifully. And then in the last couple of corners, just in general, and not even last couple of corners, but just in general, at the end of the race, knowing it's time to go, everybody just ran out of just respect to give each other and just started just running each other over. We started that race, I don't even know how many times, because you just had guys running each other over for whatever reason at the end of the race. And then, of course, F1 at the end of Australia, that just mirrored that to me, just watching it. I was like, well, I guess now I don't feel as bad knowing that F1 can do the exact same thing when the chips are down late in a race when it's only like a one-lap dash to the finish.
Matter of fact, Dave, you said you're not as big into NASCAR.
Yes.
Can you do me a favor? Can you watch at least the road course races?
No.
Damn, not even the road course races. Damn. Even if NASCAR went back to Suzuka, would you watch it then?
I don't know, maybe.
I mean, it is possible. Believe it or not, NASCAR did actually race in Suzuka from 96 and 97. Believe it or not. Speaking of, that's after Australia. In other words, Suzuka, Japan, for the Japanese Grand Prix round 4 in the championship. Who we got for pole?
Verstappen. I don't know, man.
I'll go with Leclerc.
Yeah, because the first sector, the first couple of corners where it's just sweeping left, right, left, right, left. Again, Ferrari had the advantage in the corners, I feel like. So I can see where you're coming from in that regard. And as far as the podium finishes is concerned, who we got?
Honestly, I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't know. I guess just for a short prediction, I guess, I'm probably just going to just throw Verstappen with the win again. I kind of want to put Fernando Alonso there. Kind of. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to put him actually, I want to put him third. And I'll probably maybe I don't want to put Perez there. I don't want to say that it's just going to be that the entire time. So just to change it up, I'll put Fernando third, and I guess I'll just put maybe Sainz second. I don't know.
For third, probably third. I'll probably put Russell. Second, let me say I'll put Alonso. Hopefully the Aston Martin is a little better than like today's race. Really, no comment on the top. So
because you know who's going to be on the top.
It could be anyone. So I'm just leaving that blank.
That is true because to quote the late Murray Walker, anything can happen in Formula One, and of course it usually does. After Japan,
especially the first turn.
because you don't know what's going to happen in the first turn with all those cars bunched up.
Exactly.
After Japan, if it don't get taken off last minute, China, who we got for pole?
I'm the most excited if they actually does stay on there because we haven't gone to this track pre-COVID.
Exactly. The last time was 2019 when Lewis Hamilton won it.
I am surprised that we're even back at this track, knowing that, of course, all that stuff originated there. I'm shocked. I can't believe. I'm glad that we're going back, obviously, because I like China. It's a good track, but I'm like, wow, I'm surprised we're actually going back.
And also, it's going to be a sprint race, so
The
we'll
first
see how
sprint
that
race,
goes
too,
too.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I wonder how that's going to go.
Wait a minute, Dave, Bryce, what is your take on the sprint weekends?
To be honest, I'm not really big on them. It's like it's obviously a much different comparison, but it's like how I felt with the NBA this year with the in-season tournament. To me, it just felt pointless. It just didn't really mean much. I mean, the sprints to me don't really mean all that much. I won't even tune in to watch them, to be honest, because I just don't care.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. It could be more costly for teams if anything happens, so that could dip into their cost cap.
Even when the sprint was a thing in 2021 when it came out.
I mean, they're trying to attract more viewers, so they took this idea mostly from, I guess, like Formula 2, their feature race.
Well, you say draw more viewers. We have Drive to Survive.
Yeah, I mean, I already finished season 6, so.
God, dude, I'm not even finished season 6. I'm halfway through that.
Yeah, I kind of.
You binge watched the season 6, didn't you?
Yes.
I knew it. I knew it. Wait. In one night.
Yeah, pretty much. It took me a day.
Apparently, it's taken me more than a day. Bryce, did you watch Drive to Survive?
I haven't even watched a single episode.
You have plenty of catching up to do.
To be honest, I really don't care for it. Don't get me wrong. It's like Drive to Survive. It's one of those shows, obviously on Netflix. Obviously, that's gotten a lot of people into it. But I don't know, man. It's like I'm more of a casual F1 fan than I ever would be a diehard. So it's just like, I don't know, man. I guess what I'm trying to say is I just do not care enough to actually delve into actually wanting to even watch any of it, to be real. I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea, I guess. I don't know. I mean, yeah, try before you deny, but I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Well, you're in a podcast with 2 diehard F1 fans. You know that, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
Speaking
I only watch DTS because there's nothing else on Netflix that's worth watching.
Bryce, you know this NASCAR. Go ahead, Dave.
Since they took off The Office, yeah, there's nothing else left to watch.
So The Office was on Netflix, apparently.
Yes.
And I'm guessing they took it off.
Yes.
Well, that's surprising because how much it was popular, given its popularity.
Yes.
And Bryce, you know NASCAR released a show called NASCAR Full Speed on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen an episode. I've yet to see it. But did you also know that there was a thing that NASCAR did that was titled Race for the Championship a couple of years ago?
I did. I did watch an episode or 2 of it, and I'm going to be honest with you. Thank God Full Speed has been so much better because that just did it have its good moments? Yes, but if I'm going to be real with you real quick, you've seen how it's gotten people actually invested. Full Speed, I'm talking about, to actually watch the sport. But Race for the Championship did not. Not to mention, it was put on a time slot where really nobody except diehard fans would sit and watch it, and it was put on the USA channel. Did they really think people were going to tune into that? And it showed. No one tuned in to watch it. Nobody cared.
But yet, when NASCAR Full Speed came out,
and they put it on Netflix and put it at a reasonable amount of episodes and a reasonable slot, people tune in to watch it. Like, people actually chose to watch it. Not even just fans. Even people that don't even know much about NASCAR chose to watch it. Like, do you see the difference? Like, that's a massive, big difference there. And it works. And it really isn't working. People are getting invested, as they should.
I haven't.
But that's what you do. That's what happens when you actually market the stuff right, and when you actually put it on, you put it somewhere where people are actually going to want to watch it. And not to mention, you also make it to where, because one thing Full Speed definitely does is it takes itself seriously. I'm not saying it takes itself overly seriously, like to the point where there's no like small little moments in there that could be like humorous or whatever. But it does what it's supposed to do, and that's take it seriously. From what I've seen, even with Drive to Survive, it's a little too over the top sometimes. It's just a little bit, just a teeny bit. It captures obviously it captures F1 and what it is, obviously. But from what even I've seen a little bit too, like from clips or whatnot, there are certain parts too where just it's a little too much. I mean, even in an F1 race itself. By the way, let me just point that out real quick. This isn't me hating on F1, because here's the thing. Even though I'm a casual, even F1 has its good moments, even has its nice little exciting moments sometimes too. I mean, Jesus Christ, the through goes Hamilton thing has been used over and over again. That's one of definitely the best things I've seen out of F1 in the last couple of years. How
Damn
cool
right.
that was. Where
Damn right.
Hamilton takes, I think, God, it was that nice little pass he made. I think it was on Leclerc and another driver. I forget who it was.
Anyways,
But that was a beautiful look. That was just a beautiful pass that he had made on them. I think that was at, God, was that Coda? I think it was. I forget. It was Coda or Silverstone. One of the two. I forget what track it was.
Silverstone.
I figured as much. But that was cool. That was a really awesome moment. And of course, it's gotten a lot of like meme material from it. And hey, rightfully so, because of how great that moment was. That was a really, really cool moment to see. So even F1 has this cool factor sometimes. But sometimes I'll just listen to the broadcast and you're like, Crofty and Brundle, they'll be making every single freaking lap feel like it's the last lap. And I'm like, dude, come on, this is not all that great. Like, not every single moment is like going to be like last lap material. It's like, now that through goes Hamilton part, oh yeah, now that's, you got to be excited for that one. That was an exciting moment. But sometimes I'd be like, Jesus, you've been making it seem like every single lap like the greatest thing in the world when it's not. A little too over the top. Just a little too much.
Welcome to the pinnacle of motorsport.
My ass.
Are we still talking about NASCAR, or are we back on F1?
F1.
Back on F1.
With the through goes Hamilton part.
Oh yeah, that was Silverstone. I mean, that was great. Well, I mean, it was a good opportunity for Hamilton since Perez and Leclerc were battling.
And Hamilton seized the moment, took it, got the podium. But Bryce, you said Crofty and Brundle, the way how they were commentating, they make every lap seem like it's the last lap.
It's like the exact opposite sometimes of how NASCAR commentating is, where sometimes even like remember in last year's Daytona 500 when they wrecked like on the second to last lap or the last lap with Boyers, Boyers commentators like, oh, we got turned. It's like no excitement whatsoever.
Yeah.
But then you'll have like, let's say like middle of the race something will happen, or like just like a mundane pass for position, and then you got Crofty over here losing his shit, going crazy over like a mundane pass, or like even like earlier. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was like a nice little pass. It was, God, I want to say, Jesus, I think it was God, I want to say it was Hamilton and Piastri, I think it was. I think Piastri slid, or was it Lando? I forget. It was a McLaren. It was one of the McLarens, though, and he slid off of the corner or whatnot. And yeah, it was him and Russell, I think it was. And he had slid off a corner, and Russell got back underneath him and passed him. Don't get me wrong, that was a good moment, but I'm just using it as an example where something mundane will happen, or it'll just be like a simple pass for like a position that's like fifth or sixth, and then they'll make it seem like it's like the craziest thing in the world or whatnot. I'm like, dude, it's a mundane pass for position. It's not like it's last lap, last corner, where this is like desperate time, calls for desperate measures, and I need to get around this guy to get the position. It's like, no, it's middle of the race, just a mundane pass for position. It's not all that crazy, nor does it need to be.
No commentators are going to be like Murray Walker.
Definitely agreed there. No one can top Murray Walker. No one.
Murray Walker was F1.
The voice of F1, you mean?
Yes.
Along with James Allen. I have my reasons, but Murray Walker's at the top. But as we mentioned Coda, That's round 6 in the championship. But before we get to that, China. Gotta get with China first. I think we know who's going to get pole, don't we?
Oh yeah, Verstappen.
But wait. Changeable weather conditions. We don't know if Max is going to get pole or not. Because again, changeable weather conditions. But
That is true.
Dave, who you got for pole?
That could be opportunity for like Hamilton. If it were to rain, I mean, rain pretty much shows who's better in those kind of conditions. But we'll see how the Mercedes are there. But yeah,
I'm sure we all know the drill by now. Who we got for podium?
So for me, it's going to be Verstappen, Russell, and Leclerc.
Dude, is it going to be Verstappen who gets the win every single time?
Dude, I literally cannot stress this enough. I literally, like I said earlier on at the beginning of this podcast, I'm not saying Verstappen's going to win every single race because, yes, even last season, at one point, you even had, I think even Perez, won twice. And I think you had Sainz win. Yeah, Sainz won Singapore. So, I mean, yeah, he may not win every single race, but, dude, he's on track just like last season and even in the year before that to win almost every single race he enters. Like, until I see otherwise, Verstappen's going to win more than 60% of the races of the season. It's just the way that it is.
But the biggest question...
I don't see it changing anytime soon. I don't.
So
I'm sorry, but I don't.
But the biggest question is, will Max Verstappen win every single race this year?
Probably not, because, I mean, again, like just like last season, you did have Ferrari win with Sainz at Singapore, and then you did have, obviously, it's still Red Bull, but you did have Perez win twice at Baku and Saudi, but still, you never know, man. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, it could be anyone. Yeah, I'm gonna go bold. I'm gonna probably say Perez.
Oh, who we got finishing second?
Like I said, I mean, they haven't gone to this track, so I'm probably gonna put. Yeah, I'm probably gonna say probably Sainz, and then maybe Russell.
Going bold with that. Bryce, who you got?
I guess I'm gonna probably end up going with, same thing, Sainz and Russell, I guess.
And you say Max is going to come out on top.
Yes.
Now we get to Coda. Who we got for pole?
I'll give it to Leclerc.
Because I do remember Sainz winning the pole in Texas and at this place in 2022, so I can see that. Didn't Sherlock win the pole last year at Texas? Dave, do you remember?
I think it was Leclerc, because I know. I think that was. Yeah, I think was that 22 that
I know for
Sainz got pole.
Sainz won the pole.
Yes, he won that, then he lost it because he got
the first
hit
corner because he got hit by George Russell, and that derailed his chances. Same for George, but man, Lewis was right there for the win on that day. He was right there, but then Max with the rocket ship.
Oh my God! Don't remind me. Yeah, that day I was like, dude, come on, Lewis, please win. And of course, he catches him. He runs him. I think he had like a 12 or like almost 20 some odd second lead, and then Max just just literally slowly but surely cut it down, and then just passed him like he was nothing.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming.
I knew it was. I knew he wasn't gonna win. I knew it. Obviously, I was holding on to hope in the back of my mind that he was gonna win, but every single second he got closer, I'm like, yep, there's no way. There's no way he's winning.
I was also hoping, but then we also got more devastating news that, he got disqualified for the plank.
Which was the following year.
I'm saying, yeah. But
and then after Coda, we have Imola for round 7. Who we got for pole?
I'm gonna put Sainz there on pole.
I'm going with Leclerc.
And the race itself for the podium finishes?
Verstappen, Sainz, Alonso.
Leclerc, Steins. I'll go with Perez.
You going bold with the Ferrari one too, huh?
Hey, I mean, they're in Italy, so why not?
Part one, because Monza in the latter stages.
Right.
And
But
after that, we have Monte Carlo, where anything can happen and nothing is guaranteed in Monaco. Question is,
Monaco, yeah.
you don't sound excited for it.
No, because obviously everybody knows, and it doesn't even matter if you're an F1 fan or not. Qualifying is everything at this track. Everything.
Qualifying, you pretty much just summed it up. Qualifying is crucial at this place.
Because unless you can get passes in like, I don't know, like Sandoval or whatever the you can't pass. You can't pass here, you can't pass there. You can't do anything at this track. You can't. There's like almost nowhere to pass on this circuit.
You got that from Josh Chevelle, didn't you?
Yep. He was like, no, seriously, is there anywhere to pass on the circuit? Precision this, precision that.
You could be bold and, do some passes at the hairpin or
if you got a death wish.
Just before the swimming pool. But those are like
if you got a
very, very risky.
Or at Las Gas.
Or just before the chicane.
Coming out of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Which is the Nouvelle chicane.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, if you're lucky, even to back. You got to run on someone at the back. You place your car on the outside or the inside.
I mean, we've seen accidents there. Remember, Maldonado.
I knew you were going to say that. Yes, yeah. I do. 20.
I mean, it's very tricky to even you gotta make a pass before to back.
Exactly.
By going into it, that's you're just asking for it.
Exactly. As Maldonado found out. But 2009, Rosberg made a pass on Massa through there, and it worked. In fact, you want to know something funny?
Well, I mean,
2011, Maldonado made a pass on someone at the back cleanly.
You got to note that F1 cars were, a little smaller back then. Now they're, getting wider as years go on. So
these cars got too much guff in them. They're way too big.
They're getting wider. So overtaking.
So it's much harder to pass. Exactly. A lot harder to pass.
Yeah.
And especially
they're just so wide. They're just so big.
And heavy. Extremely heavy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So it's like trying to make passes, especially at Monaco, trying to make passes with these cars because of how big and how wide they are. It's difficult. It's very difficult.
Question is, who we got for pole?
I'm going with Leclerc.
I'm going with Verstappen.
I'm going for a curveball. Ready to hear this one? Alex Albon. No, I'm just Fernando Alonso.
What the? I was about to say, what the what?
No, Fernando Alonso. I got you with that one, didn't I?
I was about to say, there's no way.
I mean, we'll see how the Aston Martin is. If the Aston Martin was as strong as it was last season, yeah, I would put Alonso because he was close.
No, I would love to see if Alex Albon can get the pole. If he was able to get the pole, that'd be great. It would be like what was it? I think it was last year, the year before that, where I think it was Mick Schumacher won a pole or something. I think because didn't Mick Schumacher win a pole, or I think he had topped the board at one point during qualifying one of these times a few years ago.
I'm thinking of Turkey in 2021. Dave, do you remember when Mick Schumacher got into Q3 that year in Turkish Grand Prix in 2021?
Yes.
Somehow. But
that was cool to see. So if Alex Albon could do that, that would be cool to see. I'm not against that by any means. It would be a nice change of pace.
I mean, that would also be like a slap in the face to Haas. Because
it would.
Well, the new owners of Williams are willing to invest to at least, well, they've since, their downfall, they have been making progress, unlike Haas. I mean, they were okay when they entered, but then they were slowly just now switching places with Williams.
And as far as the podium finishes is concerned, it's Monaco. With the weather, you never know. That being said, who we got for the podium finishes in Monaco?
I think it's pretty obvious. I want to go with Verstappen, Leclerc, and then I don't know. I guess Alonso. I don't know.
Dave?
For third, I'm gonna probably put Leclerc, since his tradition in Monaco, don't really mix that well. Second, I'm gonna probably put Alonso, and but first, I'm gonna put Perez.
If that be so, it would be Checo's second win in Monaco, considering you remember he won 2022 at that place.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't, crash on purpose during qualifying.
Also in 2022, which you remember vividly, I'm sure. Wait a minute, Bryce, did we have that discussion about that when Checo crashed in qualifying in Monaco?
I think we did, yes.
What
We did actually. Yes, we did. Because we were pinpointing. Excuse me. We were pinpointing out as to why, back in Brazil that year, that Verstappen did not let Checo through when the team was telling him, "Let Checo through, please, and let him get that spot," and why Verstappen was so lenient to keeping the position, and as to why he reacted the way that he did afterwards. And we had traced it back. I know I had traced it back all the way to Monaco when he was pissed because of the fact that he was probably going to get the pole, but Checo had crashed or whatever, and that brought out the I think it was the yellow or whatnot, and Verstappen was just over the moon, upset over that.
Brazil, he got the championship wrapped up. He's already the champion. It don't make no sense.
Now, obviously, my opinion still has remained the same. I have absolutely no problem with the fact that he didn't want to let Checo through. I had absolutely no problem with that. But my problem was the way he reacted, and just the reasoning for it was what just boggled my mind as to why he was just so upset about the whole thing. And so I was like, no, I gave my reasons and I stand by it. Like, I have absolutely no problem when it comes to a driver in F1. I mean, some people might look at me weird when I say this, but to me, team orders to me in F1 is really, really stupid, especially when it comes to letting somebody pass. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Just, again, the way that Max went about it was just wrong. Him not giving up the position, I can understand, but just the way he chose to act in a situation was just not right whatsoever. It just didn't make any sense for him to act like that. That was wrong. I didn't like that, but I don't know. It just didn't make any sense for him to act that way. Just that threw me off a little bit.
You say team orders. I want to touch on that in a minute, but Dave, you agree?
Well, I mean, Max, he doesn't know how to control his anger. So he likes to throw a tantrum when he doesn't have his way.
Mugello.
Or things doesn't go his way.
Mugello 2020 immediately pops in my mind. Or Monza 2021. Sorry, Dave. After Monaco, we have Montreal. Who we got for the pole?
Excuse me.
Stroll.
Wait, what?
I jokingly said Stroll, but I'm kidding. Stroll doesn't have a chance. I'm going for signs.
Me personally, I say Verstappen. Who will get second? As far as qualifying trim is concerned. You ready to hear a curveball? Hamilton.
Hit me with it.
Hamilton. I may be a bit biased when I say that, but as far as the race is concerned, who we got?
Excuse me. Well, easily, obviously, have Verstappen winning easily yet again, but
You're going to say Verstappen every time.
Excuse me. I'll put Fernando. I just I don't even have to explain myself at this point. I really don't, to be honest. But continuing, I'll put Alonso probably second, and tell you what, I'm gonna throw a curveball in there for third. I'm going to put Lando Norris third.
Oh, all right. Dave?
Give the McLaren some. I'm going to put the McLaren in there.
I was also going to have a curveball. I was going to put Lando second.
Even bigger curveball right there.
Third. I'll probably pull Alonso.
And the winner?
Yeah, another curveball. I'll put Hamilton. That's the boldest one, so never know.
Anything could happen, and it usually does.
Yeah.
Round 10, this will be the last, because there's 24 races. No way am I going to do the whole thing in one go. So
No, it would be like a second part.
exactly,
or third, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would be split in parts. Round 10, this is the last one we're going to do before we touch on more topics. The 10th round of the championship takes place at the Spanish Grand Prix, the Circuit de Barcelona de Catalunya. Who we got for the pole position, man?
I guess I'll put, Jesus. I guess I'll put Leclerc.
Yeah, I would also go with Leclerc.
I agree. Considering how, again, Ferrari have the advantage in the corners. If Leclerc, if he doesn't shoot himself in the foot, if he can put in the perfect lap, I see him getting the pole. As far as the races, go ahead, Dave.
Well, also, they took out or, not use the chicane, so there'll be some extra speed there.
Which is a blessing in disguise that they took out that chicane and not using that. As far as the race itself is concerned, who we got for the podium finishers?
Verstappen with dub. I'm going to put... Which track is this again?
Spain.
Barcelona,
okay. Let's see. So Verstappen with the W. I'm gonna put. Gosh, I'm trying to really think this one over. Tell you what, I want to put Lando Norris second, and I'll probably put Fernando Alonso third.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably say Sainz would win.
Home win.
Second. Yeah. Because wasn't Alonso the last Ferrari Spanish driver to win there?
Yes, 2013.
Yeah.
His last win in F1 period.
For second. Let me put I'll put second. Third. I'm gonna have another curveball. Let me put Piastri up there.
Oh, first podium for Piastri in your book. For the season.
Hey, can't always have Norris. Why not have another McLaren driver, Piastri?
One McLaren to another.
Know.
One McLaren to another. That's 10 races in. 10 races in. Bryce, you mentioned team orders. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember, but you remember we touched on the 2013 Malaysian Grand Prix with Sebastian Vettel and Mark Webber team orders fiasco.
Yep, I remember that.
Dave, the biggest question to you with what I just said, well, you're watching that race live.
Of course I was.
What was going through your mind with what you were seeing?
Probably the same Mark was thinking.
In other words, pissed off.
Yeah. Even though, there were team orders to finish 2-1. Hence the
multi-21.
Multi-21. Yeah. For the second driver. Because it pretty much was Webber's win, but Vettel didn't want that.
Wait a minute. Bryce, didn't you say at the end of the day they were both still going to finish 1-2 regardless?
Yes, and I still stand by that. It's like yes, this is coming obviously from an outsider's perspective, of course, because I'm a NASCAR fan first. I'm not an F1 fan at all like that. But this is obviously only just my opinion. Of course, anyone's welcome to disagree, no matter what it is. To me, it's stupid to me regardless, because why in the world do I need to give up the W when you and I both are going to finish 1-2 regardless? I don't see the purpose in that. It doesn't make any sense. Weber's still going to get a good amount of points, and so is Vettel at this end of the day. I don't see what giving up one position is going to do when it'd be different. Here's the thing. I'll give it to you like this. It'd be way different to me if they were competing for, let's say, maybe 4th or 5th or 6th, or heck, tell you what, maybe even the podium. Then I would definitely say, hey, maybe give Weber P3. I don't know, because he'll get more points. Obviously, we're finishing on the podium, but they both were competing for the W. They both were competing for, first and second. So to me, I don't understand that. I just don't get it. I don't understand the concept of just giving up a position. And again, this is also coming from even a racer's perspective. If I see a W in front of me, you best believe I'm going to take it. I'm not giving up a position just so you can have it. I'm not doing that. I don't care if it's team winners or not. This is just me. But why should I give up the W just for that? It doesn't make any sense to me. You and I both are still going to finish 1-2 and get a good amount of points. I don't see the purpose in that. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't get it.
But I mean, I can agree, but Vettel, showed that he was a true fighter, that he was going to take that win regardless of the team orders, which happened anyway, and that pretty much was the point that their relationship shattered
completely.
Maybe it was their first time, where their collision in Turkey.
2010. I remember that.
Yeah.
Which you watched that live, I'm sure.
I mean, that's still unbelievable. I don't know what your take on it, but I think that was Vettel's fault there.
Bryce, didn't you say that it was Mark Webber in the wrong in that moment?
I did.
It's difficult to judge looking back at it now because Vettel slightly came up, Webber slightly came down. Again, difficult to judge who was at fault. But in the end, they both lost the race. What could have been a 1-2 finish for the both of them, wasted. Absolutely wasted. Red Bull 1-2 quickly became a McLaren 1-2 at that point, with Hamilton taking the dub, Jensen Button second. But regarding team orders, Dave, you remember 2002, Austria.
Yes.
If you were in Barrichello's shoes, would you give up the race win?
No.
Bryce?
You already know my answer. I ain't giving up the race win.
I mean, it depends. Sometimes it depends, if it's early and the points don't really matter, you'll make it up anyway, maybe. Or if I have a mechanical or electrical problem, or just some reliability, maybe. But no, I still wouldn't. I would still hold my place, and they're gonna have to earn that. If they want to win, they can fight it.
Which reminds me, do you remember what Lewis Hamilton said at Hungary 2014?
When he was a true gentleman, and he stuck to his word.
When he said, I'm not slowing down for Nico. If he wants to overtake, he can overtake, he said. And yet, Lewis finished ahead of Nico on the podium. Even though Nico won the pole, he faltered.
Mm-hmm.
But Dave, again, You were watching that live. You know the other two podium finishes, don't you?
This was Hungary, right?
2014.
Uh, uh,
Never a big.
I'm trying to remember that. I mean, I would have to look it up. I can't really remember right now.
Fernando Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo.
Ah,
Dave, what are your expectations now that we got the 2024 F1 season underway?
who's going to finish on top overall, or
Who's going to finish on top overall, and which young superstar like Piastri, for example, is going to rise to the occasion the most compared to the other superstars in the field? Like, who will impress more and who will not show up? In other words, who will not do well and who will do well? This goes for both the drivers and the teams themselves.
so the first one, the overall. I mean, anything can happen. So
Say it with me now.
I'm part of.
It usually does, but go ahead.
No, I'm there probably Ferrari. If they do, decent, I think they can do good in the constructors.
I'm back.
Welcome
I
back.
just needed to grab some food. I hadn't eaten yet, so I needed to grab something.
What did you grab?
Leftover stuff from Chick-fil-A.
Which is?
Like I didn't finish my chicken sandwich last night, so I grabbed that, grabbed some nuggets, and some leftover French fries. Because why not?
I could use some of that right now.
I believe it.
Dave, you ever had Chick-fil-A?
No.
Damn.
Bryce, what you just said, I said the exact same thing in my mind. Dave, you never had Chick-fil-A? That's a first.
Well, there's nothing there to eat anyway.
Oh, wait. You're vegan. Never mind.
Understandable.
And
Hey,
Bryce,
everybody's different.
Exactly. And Bryce, while you went to get something to eat, Dave was explaining expectations for this year's F1 season for 2024. If you have anything to add to that, as far as who will impress, who will show up, who will not impress, and who will not show up. If you have anything to add to that, spit it out.
I don't really have much expectations for this season, but tell you what, the only team I'm going to touch on here that I have expectations for and I really hope shows up this year is McLaren, because they desperately need this. I feel like McLaren desperately needs some good results, and they had some decent results last season. It's like one really good YouTuber I actually watch that's F1 related is Aldas, I think is his name.
Yes.
He's got some really, really good F1 content. He made a video recently saying that this year McLaren they have to show up. And he's not wrong. They need to show up. This is a team that desperately needs results. They need results bad. They really do. Heck, even Haas is another one. Haas is another one too that I feel like Haas especially is another team that just genuinely, even if they can get some decent results, they need that too. Like McLaren, Haas, they got to show up this year. If they don't,
which other team needs to show up? Sorry to cut you off there, but there's another team that you forgot to mention. Williams. Definitely Williams.
It's pretty wild considering that. It's so wild considering the fact that back in the 2000s and even the 90s, Williams was one of the gold standards as far as F1 was concerned for performance. And it sucks how far they've fallen over like the last decade and a half or more.
They were on a downfall since 2006, I would say.
Crazy to think.
No, scrap that. 1998, literally right after when Villeneuve won the championship in 97. Since 1998, Williams have been on the downfall. Yeah, sure, there were seasons where they were consistent and they were finishing the top 3 in the Constructors' Championship. But again, it's been since 1997 that they've last won the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship. So it's been
And that really, really sucks.
exactly, and it's been so long. Question is,
And it's crazy to think too, because any new, especially even like casual fans or even just new fans, they don't know. They'll probably look at Williams like, oh my God, they suck. They're a terrible team. But they'll have absolutely no idea how good they used to be all those years
exactly.
ago.
Dude,
They have no idea.
dude, I think you brought this up to me a while back. You said Williams is the equivalent to Roush Racing.
They are. I compared them to Roush Racing for a reason, because everybody knows, if you're a NASCAR fan, everybody remembers it. Way back in the day, Roush Racing was one of the best teams in NASCAR for years. Literally over the years, they shrunk from being a 5-car team to nowadays. I mean, they're back. They're better than what they used to be, thank God. But for the longest time, they were just a 2-car team that barely had any good performance at all. Like at one point after 2012, Matt Kenseth had left and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. jumped into that car and wasn't good, didn't win a race for 5 years. And at one point after that, then Carl Edwards left 2014, and they were really struggling. Then they were left with an aging Greg Biffle who was way past his prime. And then they had Trevor Bayne and Stenhouse Jr. there. They shrunk from a 5-car team to that point, a 3-car team. And then once Biffle left, then they were just a struggling 2-car team until Brad Keselowski got there and took over part ownership of the team. Now they're back to what they should be and what they used to be, a little bit more, but they were struggling for a long, long time. They went from being a team that put all five of their cars in the chase for the Cup in 2005 to where they are right now, just being a 2-car team. How crazy is that?
It's insane to
Williams,
comprehend.
same thing. I mean, even Williams, like same exact thing with Williams. I mean, at one point, again, they went from being a team that was competing for the Drivers' Championship and the Constructors. I mean, even in the early 2000s, they were still very good. Like with Juan Montoya driving and all that stuff. They were still very good with that in the 2000s at one point. But
What?
I don't know. They just for the longest time, they've become a backmarker. It sucks to see because they used to be so good. And now here they are right now. They're competing for the back of the barrel. It's sad to see, really. It's so sad seeing a team go from the highest of highs all those years ago to this low point where they're barely even competitive.
Exactly.
You hate to see it, you know?
Not to mention barely even struggling to be on the grid financially.
Yeah, but it's like, how do you go from that? How do you go from being one of the top teams in the sport all those years ago to now not only are you struggling to compete, but you're struggling to even put cars on the racetrack?
Exactly.
How does that happen?
Also, at the time, it was the only team on the grid that was a family owned.
Yes. Until it was bought
And
by
now-
Darlington Capital in 2020.
And not-
it
and not like a-
anyway.
So, I mean, Frank Williams and Patrick Head were
The OGs.
well, yeah, they carried that themselves. Well, not physically, but you know.
Basically, what you're
Those
saying is
two-
they were the OGs that started Williams in the first place.
Yes.
Way back in the 70s.
I mean, they're, you know, it took 2 of them to be successful for that team.
And the last time
But
Williams was in contention for a championship, Bryce, to your point, you said Juan Pablo Montoya. The last time Williams was in contention for a championship was 2003. That long.
Wow.
But Dave, what were you saying?
I was going to say that Frank Williams and Patrick Head, they have nothing compared to Colin Chapman because he was pretty much all of them.
So you're saying Colin Chapman is the GOAT?
Yes, because he was engineer, aerodynamicist,
You've
designer.
said this numerous times this way because you said that he was everything.
He would, if he didn't decide to put the engine in the back instead of the front, he didn't. If it wasn't for him, F1 cars today wouldn't have front and rear wings. maybe eventually we would have, but he's the one who started evolution to F1.
And the ground effect.
That too, yes. But that was too good.
Again, this comes back to what you said, why you dub Colin Chapman as the GOAT at the very top.
Yeah,
He was basically the Adrian Newey before Adrian Newey, basically. But better.
pretty much, yes.
In your
Yes.
case, but better. Another thing I want to touch on, though, where the drivers will rank in the standings at the end of the year. Obviously, we got 20 contestants in the field. Literally the same lineup as last year. The first time ever in Formula One history. No change to the roster. So we're going to go down from the bottom, 20th, all the way up to the top. Though we know who's going to be at the top, but we're going to start at the bottom bunk. 20th, it's going to be Logan Sargent. For some reason, I sense Logan finishing in the standings in 20th. Dave?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Bryce?
I mean, if nothing happens like last session, with like Liam Lawson had to come in, so and they had like 22 in the standings instead of 20.
Yeah, because like you said, Liam Lawson coming in to replace Daniel Ricciardo when Ricciardo had his hand injury.
Right. So yeah, for now, yeah, I'm gonna put Sargent unless he gets that one lucky point like he did
in Texas.
But
that was because, again, Hamilton and Leclerc got disqualified.
It wouldn't surprise me if Logan does finish last. and to be honest with you, it does really suck because to an extent, I actually like Logan Sargent. I think for the most part he does have some talent, but it's just I don't know, man. Just he keeps letting me down. He just keeps letting me down. It's just
in testing, he spun off in the race earlier today. He went off the road, finished 2 laps down in dead last.
He couldn't slow down. He locked up.
Still, to my point, he went off the road again.
And it's like, man, I really want to see him succeed, but he just keeps making it harder on himself. It's just like, I want to see this guy succeed. I really do. Just like, man.
Again, I'm sitting here saying, why is he still here? No disrespect when I say this, but why is he still here when he's making all these mistakes?
It goes for another driver, but we'll get to him.
I think is this like his second year in F1 at this point? I think is this like his second year?
This time he has to prove that he has to stay in that seat.
He does, but of course, obviously, he's making a bunch of mistakes because, well, again, I chalk it down to just he's only at 1 year under his belt, very little experience. Like he barely has any experience under his belt right now. This year he definitely needs to prove that he deserves that seat, and he's got to start doing it now. And of course, today was not a step in the right direction whatsoever. But it's just like, man, he's letting me down, man. He keeps letting me down. I really want to see him do well, but my goodness, he just keeps letting me down.
19th. So you're saying, before I get to that, Bryce, you're saying for 20th, you also have Logan Sargent.
Yeah, it's a simple fact that he just has, again, very little experience, and he just, I don't know, man. But I just, again, chalking it down, just a very little experience, very silly mistakes, and just, he's going to finish last. Unless he can pick it back up and really start to piece stuff together. And if he's able to learn to put races together, then he might start finishing better. But I don't know, man. He's going to have to learn. He's going to have to learn quick.
19th. Currently, it's Valtteri Bottas at 19th in the standings, though he's going to move a bit higher than that. But 19th, this is going to be painful with the Nico Hulkenberg fans, but for 19th, I'll put Nico Hulkenberg in there. Dave?
I'm kind of thinking the same.
Well, yeah, I agree that both of us will move up. But I'm gonna probably say, well, this goes for 18 too. So 19, I would put Ocon, and 18 it will be Gasly, just because I don't think it's gonna be a good season for Alpine. So
They're already starting off the back foot. Dude, they were 19th and 20th on the qualifying time sheets.
hey, but I could be wrong. Well, we'll see. At the end of the season, and we'll revisit this list. But for now, I'll put both Alpine towards the back, while Gasly will be above Ocon again.
For me, for me, 20th is Logan Sargent, 19th Nico Hulkenberg, 18th I'll put Gasly there. Actually, no, scratch that. Ocon.
I can agree with that. I definitely put the Alpine drivers together too. Yeah, finishing in those two spots.
Going from 20th to 15th, Sargent, Hulkenberg, Ocon in 18th. For 17th, Magnussen. 16th, Wang Yuzhou. And 15th, Sonoda.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
For 14th,
I can definitely see that happening.
For 14th, I have Valtteri up there. 13th, I have Lance Stroll in there.
You put Stroll at 13?
Yes. For some reason, I don't see him finishing in the top
no.
10. I don't see that happening.
No,
I don't either.
No,
There's no.
Well, I don't think anyone really has faith in him. So yeah, I think that seems reasonable.
And for Ricardo, I see Ricardo probably at the end of the season, 11th, 10th. I'm going bold saying, but we'll see what he can do in the RB this year.
I got him finishing around like 12.
What?
I got him finishing around 12 to 13.
Oh, Ricardo?
Excuse me. Yep. I don't see him going any higher than that.
Rewind the clock 6 years when he was with Red Bull, probably you'll say otherwise.
Oh, yeah. But he's not driving a Red Bull. He's driving a Toro Rosso.
Well,
he isn't driving an actual Red Bull.
Kinda is with the RB logo.
Sure, but they're the lesser Red Bull team.
Yes. The sister team, if you will.
No, I would put Ricardo 11th. I think he can do decent. I see he'll be close to the top 10, but he'll be outside. He could be tied with someone else, but yeah, I would say he's more 11th.
Now we hit the top 10. Well, I said Ricardo will be 10th. I'm going bold saying that. So as the way things stand for the top 9, Verstappen, Checo, Sainz, Leclerc, Russell, Lando, Lewis, Piastri, Fernando. I think he'll move up to at least 7th place at the end of the year. At least.
That's very generous. I was going to say Alonso, for me, probably 7th. Oh, I'm sorry. Probably 8th.
That's where Piastri currently sits. Bryce,
Yeah.
your take?
Like as far as the entire top 10 is concerned?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see here. Gosh. Let me see how I think the rest of this top 10 is going to go. Okay. I might do it backwards from 10th all the way to 1st. Good Lord. I'm trying to remember them all off the top of my head. As a matter of fact, let me jump to the F1 app for a minute.
That's what I'm on.
Same here.
Because I feel like that's going to help me. Because me trying to do it on top of my head is going to take forever. Okay. So, let me see here. So, what I'm probably going to do here is I guess I'm probably gonna put. Golly, this is pretty tough actually. So, because I don't think did we mention Kevin Magnussen yet? I don't think we did, or did I?
Either way, I see
I don't
K
think so.
Mag finishing below the top 10.
Yeah.
13th,
Yeah,
14th, 15th, around that area.
I
Because,
can agree
again,
with that.
it's Haas we're talking about here.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, there's no way they're doing any. There's
Now,
no way
if
they're
it was
any good. There's no way.
if it was in McLaren colors, that would be a different story. I would have him in the top 10. Dare I say a top 5?
Yep.
Dave, you remember when
So
K-Max started in Formula One with McLaren in 2014, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do.
And do you also remember his first race when he got his first and currently only podium?
Wasn't that Australia?
Yes.
That's when I guess McLaren was still somewhat decent, but
Yes.
like on their way going downward.
Yes.
And also, well, that was 2014, so the year of the Squidwards noses.
Yes. 10 years ago. If Dave, if you're low yet,
No,
10 years later, and Magnussen's still yet to go on the podium for the second time. But Bryce, regarding your take on what you predict, how the top 9 or the top 10 will rank in the final standings when the season ends in Abu Dhabi. Who you got?
all right. So I guess what I'll do here is I'll probably put. Excuse me. I'll put probably Lance Stroll. I guess 10th. I'm gonna put Piastri 9th. I'll put Lando Norris 8th probably. Yeah, I'll put him 8th. Good Lord. I guess I'll probably put. God, I'm trying to pick this carefully. Yeah, Stroll in 10th. Piastri 8th. Norris I'll put. Well, actually, yeah. Yeah, it's Stroll 10th. Piastri 9th. Norris 8th. See where I want to put it 7th here. 7th? I guess 7th, I'll put Fernando 7th. 6th, I'm going to put Hamilton. 5th, I'm going to put Russell. Sainz, I'm going to put 4th. Leclerc 3rd. Perez 2nd. And obviously Verstappen's winning the whole thing.
Dude.
That's, I guess, how my top 10 will rank at the end of the season.
Dude, you already know Max has got this wrapped up.
Yeah, it's going to be a Red Bull 1-2 finish again in both the drivers and the constructors again. Like it's just blatantly obvious to me.
It's basically going to be 2023 all over again, and that's...
Yes, unfortunately. And I really wish I didn't have to say that. Because I really, really want to see something new. Tell you what, I would love to see Ferrari, Ferrari actually get their head out of their ass and actually bounce back and win another championship. But we all know that's not going to happen. We all know Ferrari can't get out of their own way.
And they've been stuck in their ways for how many years now?
For at least like over a decade and a half or more now at this point.
The last time Ferrari won the Drivers' Championship was 2007, courtesy of Kimi Räikkönen.
Let's say with Kimi, and they haven't won it since.
And the last time they won a constructor, 2008.
It makes me so sad.
Dave, were you saying something?
No, I wasn't saying anything.
Wait a minute. Bryce, with Verstappen winning most of the time, didn't this trace back to what you said to me a couple of years ago before you got into F1? That you couldn't get into it because the same driver wins every single time?
Wait, I'm going to give it to you like this, too. It's not just because of the fact that you have the same guy winning all the time, too. But, dude, it's also the simple fact, too. The reasoning for the same guy winning all the time is because the racing package is terrible. Like, there is literally, like, dude, the racing is bad. This is just my opinion. But to me, F1 is all about the spectacle more than the racing. I mean, why do you think it's so popular, and why do you think so many people have flocked to F1 recently in the last couple of years? It's because it presents itself as this high octane, amazing, thrilling sport that has some of the best racing that any kind of motorsport has to offer. But when you actually sit down and watch it, the restarts and the start is the only thing exciting that's going on, or some battles mid-pack. You don't see any battles up at the front, nor do you ever see the leader getting passed whatsoever, unless it's late in the race and you get a safety car that bunches the field back up. Until then, for 57 laps or more, you're just watching no overtakes. You're just watching the same guys just putting around the racetrack at full speeds the entire time. The racing, for lack thereof, is not good. There is no racing. You can't even call this racing. It's just almost everybody what feels like following single file the entire time, or you get some passes every now and again, or every once in a while, middle of the pack, or even at the back, where that's where all the exciting stuff's happening. Up at the front, you get Verstappen over here, who's got a 30 some odd second gap. I mean, today he won the race, from what I can recall, by what was it, by 16, almost 22 seconds over Perez?
By over 22 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That should not be happening, where he's winning by that much. Almost 30 some odd seconds. He literally is on an island all by himself with nobody in the realm to challenge him. There is nobody challenging him whatsoever. The sport, to me, is just boring. It's not even just because of the fact that it's that. But, well, here's the thing. All right, I'll give you this real quick. Before I screw what I'm saying for a minute here real quick, because I'm actually going to give Verstappen some credit here real quick. I don't like Verstappen at all. I absolutely hate the bastard. I can't stand him. But I'm going to give him some credit real quick right here. Because, yes, what he is doing is superstar caliber. How many other people do you see like that are going to whip the field like that by almost 30 some odd seconds every single week like that? Clearly, he is extremely talented, very talented. No, you don't have talent if you do that. If you literally, you have to be on a whole nother level and be extremely talented to do that. And Verstappen is exactly that. He's very talented. He never makes any foolish mistakes. If he ever does make a mistake, he's able to recorrect it right away. I remember, I think it was at one point last year, I want to say it was at Canada or something. He got somewhat semi loose. He understeered just a little bit, but was able to save it real quick and kept on going, especially because of the fact he had nobody around him. So it's he barely makes any mistakes, and he's able just to coast, drive away, and he's got enough talent to where he's able just to mollywop the field like that every single week. It's the main reason, too, as to why he's won the last couple of championships in a row. Well, minus Saudi, minus Abu Dhabi 2021. We don't talk about that. But still, he's very talented. He's a very talented driver. And not to mention, he's still young. So he has many, many more years left to go. And I think, in my humble opinion, I feel like he could probably tie, if not maybe even pass, Hamilton and even Schumacher probably. He probably could win 8 championships. Who knows? We don't know for sure. Time will tell. I said all that to say this, though. Excuse me. At the end of the day, while it is very talented what it is he is doing, and he's becoming a superstar behind our very eyes, this isn't going to keep people around long term. I highly doubt that most people, especially people like myself, are going to want to stick around long term if we're just watching the same thing over and over and over again. I mean, it's the exact same thing that people felt like with NASCAR back in 2018, where at that point, because you had so many people, you literally had so many drivers, so many the top names in the sport, like Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle. A lot of those guys were retired. They were either gone. Even Matt Kenseth came back, but he only drove that 6-car, kind of part-time. He didn't drive it the entire season, and that was kind of just a last resort because Roush was desperate. But you basically just had the same 3 guys, Kyle Busch, Kevin Hart, Martin Truex Jr., who were the 3 best drivers left at that point, just wiping the floor with everybody else because they had no competition. Same thing. You can apply the same thing here to F1. Verstappen, outside of Perez to a degree, has next to no competition left at all. He has nobody close to his level right now to end up taking the championship or even beating him on a weekly basis. It just doesn't happen.
Not even his own teammate Checo.
No. And it sucks, too, that it basically takes, someone holding him up, or it takes, him having an issue or a problem to be able to derail him from winning a race. because no one's beating him on pure pace or speed. It sucks. It sucks.
And you want to know what's the sad part? I recall seeing people that with F1, it provides great racing. But the sad part is, what's the great in most of these races? I'm a diehard F1 fan, and I can say this. Because, again, like you said, more often than not, it's basically just one driver just whipping the floor with everybody else. In case of today, when Max Verstappen winning in Bahrain, pole position, fastest lap, led every single lap, and of course, ran away with the win. And that I've got a feeling, I just sense that will not be the first time. That will not be his first Grand Slam of the year. I sense he'll get another one. Give or take 3 or 4 more. 3 or 4 more Grand Slams in Max's case this year. Bryce, you touched on the NASCAR side of things. Can we discuss the last 2 races for Cup at least? Daytona and Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
While we're on here,
Oh yeah.
you might as well. You might as well.
Oh yeah, pretty much. What
Starting
a wild
with
2 weeks, man. That's one thing I have to say. what a wild the last 2 weeks it has been. It's been absolutely crazy these last couple weeks.
You know what? Rank the Daytona 500 and explain.
Obviously, for starters, my favorite driver, William Byron, my current favorite driver, William Byron, won this year's Daytona 500. Of course, I'm still on cloud 9 about that, by the way. I still am. Even 2 weeks later, I still can't believe that. Safe to say, that definitely was, as far as the Daytona 500 is concerned, that is definitely probably the best 500 I've seen so far in the next-gen era. And it's definitely the best I've seen in a little while. Now, don't get me wrong, the first stage was weird because of like all the fuel saving and just you had guys that were going like at 170, obviously, to conserve fuel and to save fuel and everything. So that was pretty weird. It was definitely a weird like stage and a half. But once the racing picked up, it got good. And I mean, it got good real quick. So this definitely, I would say, to give it a score, I'm going to put it at, it was not a perfect race, but especially because of the fact that that very early wreck pissed me off. That was ridiculous. That made no sense. Just stupid old Keselowski pushing again. And it causes a wreck. And of course, Jimmy gets caught up in it, of course. Doesn't even get a chance to even show what he could do.
Again.
But whatever. Aside from that crap on lap 5, this race was amazing. It's a solid, for me, it's a solid 9 out of 10. Solid 9 out of 10, 500. One of the best I've seen in a while. Yeah. And of course, to cap it all off, my guy won the Super Bowl of NASCAR, Daytona 500 champions. One of my shirts is coming in today, actually, too. I can't wait.
Albeit apparently under controversial circumstances.
I tell you, man, that too. It's like even that right there. And the problem is because the fact Fox messed up with that because of the simple fact that they showed. If you look at it, because NASCAR had to tweet out the image of Byron being out front when the caution came out, when the caution lights turned on. But when Fox did it, they showed Alex Bowman ahead of Byron. So when they did that, I instantly assumed that it was Alex Bowman who got the lead. And then they didn't show another replay again of Byron being out front. So Fox screwed the pooch on that one because they showed Bowman out front, which led everyone to believe that Bowman got screwed. So Fox messed up big time with that one.
But then looking at the footage again, and much more clearer, I don't know if that's even a word or not, but a much more clear perspective, Byron won.
And it showed Byron just by at least a good couple tenths ahead of Bowman as the caution lights came on.
When I saw that, Bryce, I imagined you going nuts when it was official when Byron.
Oh my dude. The second they declared it official and they said bring the 24 to victory lane, I instantly lost my Instantly, I lost it. I could not have been any more happier. I spent the next what feels like 4 or 5 minutes just yelling, just being so over the moon happy after that. I couldn't believe it, dude. Couldn't believe it.
Do you have footage recorded of that night?
So, unfortunately, I don't. I'm mad at myself. I did not record footage of me celebrating. I didn't record it. I was going to, but I completely forgot in the moment.
Well, can you explain a little more what your emotion was like when Byron was declared the winner?
Oh my God. To be real, I couldn't have been any more relieved. I mean, for one, I couldn't have been any more relieved, especially because of the simple fact that before this attempt, before his 7th attempt, in his previous 6 attempts, he had done nothing but get wrecked every single attempt up until that point. But the simple fact that it had been, this is just obviously this is me personally, it at that point had been 11 years. It had been 11 years since I had last gotten a chance to celebrate a Daytona 500 victory. And that was with Jimmy Johnson back in 2013. That was all the way back in February of 2013. It had been that long. And then the last 2 times after that, Jimmy would finish 5th in the next 2. But ever since 2016, he'd either finish bad or he'd get caught up in a bunch of wrecks over and over again and would just have no chance. The last good finish he even had in the 500 was back in 2019, finishing 9th. And it just felt good to be able to win a 500 again, you know?
And with a 24, no less.
I mean, you couldn't have scripted it any better. The 24 wins it in 24. You couldn't have scripted it any better.
24.
There's no better scripts.
On
they knew the script.
40th anniversary of Hendrick Motorsports making their debut.
It's so crazy. You really could not have scripted this any better.
But then,
obviously, I'm not saying that's not scripted. I'm just saying, just as a joke, obviously.
But then, Atlanta happened.
Oh my God!
Can we touch on Atlanta?
And then freaking Atlanta happens
again.
Dear Lord,
Daytona,
man.
Explain the race from your perspective.
Now, I'm going to be real, just to get my biases out of the way real quick. Byron getting wrecked, trying to go on to pit road, whatever the stupid pit road is, killed my mood for more than half of the race at that point. I mean, he had a good stage 1, finishing us out of the top 10. Dude, and I'm going to rant here for a minute, so allow me that. NASCAR, I don't understand what this stupid, idiotic rule is. Who made this rule where you have to go 90 miles an hour on the backstretch to enter pit road, where that is 45 miles an hour? So, like, you're literally going, once you get down to the backstretch, you then pull down to the apron and drive 90 miles an hour all the way around the turn, off a turn, like through turn 4, to get to the entrance to pit road, which of course is 45. But you're required to drive 90 an hour all the way around the backstretch just to get onto pit road. It's stupid, NASCAR. Like, that's the dumbest pit road I've ever seen. And of course, out of all the drivers to get screwed by this, it's mine. He's just minding his own business. And then here comes Michael McDowell, who locks up the brakes as they're going onto pit road on the backstretch. He locks up the brakes and wrecks himself and Byron, and that just kills the rest of his race from that point on. It took us forever to get back on a lead lap, and by the time we did, we weren't even competitive. We finished 17th. So that basically just killed my mood, because I'm like, wow, out of all the things to do us in, it's that? Like, are you kidding me? It wasn't the big one. It wasn't a wreck on lap 5. It wasn't a tire going flat or having any other problem go down. It was us getting wrecked going down to pit road. Of all things. Of all things.
And that was the main source as to why your mood dipped.
My mood completely dipped after that, because I just could not believe it. I was like, that's just great. We get wrecked because of one of NASCAR's most idiotic circumstances of how we're supposed to go down a pit on pit road. Like, it's stupid. There's no sense to doing that. Just have them go directly, as they normally would, onto the 45-mile-per-hour pit road on the front stretch. Why do they need to drive all the way around on the back stretch just to get to pit road? It's stupid, NASCAR. Like, it's just dumb. It's really, really stupid. I don't understand that rule.
We already have that. We already have that in Homestead, so I don't understand why it's in Atlanta.
It makes no sense. It's just stupid. It makes no sense to have it. It's dumb. It's stupid to me. I'm sorry, but I just don't get that. Makes no sense. It's that dumb.
William Byron ran in Atlanta? Does it remind you of something?
Oh yeah, it reminded me of Jeff Gordon's drive-in hugger Chevys.
I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping.
I was wondering if I was the only one thinking that. I was like, after
No,
looking at it more, I'm
no.
like, why does this remind me of one of Gordon's drive-in hugger cars? Am I the only one that thought that? I'm
No,
glad I'm not the
no.
only one.
No, you ain't the only one. You ain't the only one.
I was about to say, I'm glad I'm not the only one who recognized that. Just after looking at it more on Sunday, I'm like, why does this remind me of Gordon's drive-in hugger Chevys?
Because I got that vibe too. You ain't the only one.
Just the bright red and the black and everything. The bright red, the black and all that are like, this reminds me of Gordon's drive-in hugger cars.
But what you just said, I said.
Now it makes me want to get the diecast even more.
Wait, they're making a diecast?
I'm hoping they make a diecast of it. Then I'm hoping they do. It makes me want it even more.
Yeah, to keep it going. Especially if you have Jeff Gordon dropped in cars yourself.
Yeah, they better. I swear to God, they don't. They cancel it. I swear to God.
I'm going to be
better not
pissed ass if they canceled it, especially for the 1/64 scale. But like they told Atlanta, we have a big wreck on lap 1.
On lap 2, like literally lap 1, and the second that happened, I literally sat there watching that, like, really, guys, again.
Deja vu all over again.
Not even one lap in, I'm just like, really, guys, again? We're doing this again? Are we serious?
Yeah.
But
we gotta go. But lap 1, really?
It's like what I say in racing all the time. You're not going to win the race on lap 1, but you can darn sure lose it on lap 1. That's for sure.
And look what happened.
And guess what? That's exactly what ended up happening. But of course, the rest of the race was good. I mean, you had a lot of good action. You had a lot of really good passes for the lead. I mean, hold on. Before we even get to that, let me give a shout out. So let me do this real quick. Todd Gilliland right now has the most laps led of anybody on the grid right now. And he's driving a Front Row Motorsports 38 car. Todd Gilliland impressed me last weekend, leading the most laps last week. He was in the mix all day last week until he had to pit for tires. But, dude, he was in the mix all race. He impressed me last weekend. I have to give him a shout out. He led the most laps and was out front more than anybody else. I mean, of course, you had Larson and Kyle Busch were out front a good amount of the time, too, which was a shocker seeing Kyle Larson, because Kyle Larson and play tracks do not really go together at all. Of course, he eventually ended up getting wrecked. But still,
again,
Todd Gilliland went out there and impressed last week, dude. I got to give him a shout out because that was cool to see. I liked seeing that. That was awesome to see.
An underdog moment. A feel-good moment at that for an underdog.
That was so cool to see. He didn't get the finish he rightfully deserved, but man, he impressed me. Excuse me, he really impressed me.
There were moments where it had you
absolutely
on edge, where it had you on your toes. Because how?
Oh yeah, and of course, obviously,
because how close the
finish,
was.
of course, obviously. Oh my God, the racing last week was just gorgeous, just phenomenal. Now, of course, I'm not trying to sit here and tell you this is how every race is going to be, and it's not how every single weekend should go all the time, and it's definitely not what I want to see out of mile and a halves either, as far as turning them into play, because I don't want to see this where we have to turn every mile and a half that isn't good into a play track. I don't want to see that. We don't need to see that. Everyone's saying, oh, we need to do that for Texas. Dude, that's just gonna ruin Texas. Texas does not need to be that.
That's going to ruin Texas is already more,
as it is.
You mean?
Yes, Texas is already a lost cause as it is. We do not need to make it a play track just to make it exciting. No, Texas is already ruined as it is. Do not do this for Texas. Don't. It's not going to help it. It's only going to make it worse. It's already bad enough from all the changes and all the quick fixes that they've tried to make this track relevant again. Don't do it. Just don't do it. I don't want to see it. I'm sorry. I don't want to see it.
For a couple of years there, we ain't going to talk about the 2022 race.
That's a nightmare. I don't even want to talk about that. No.
You basically did in episode 3.
Yeah. So I'm not getting into that. That talking about that race is just gonna make me mad. So I'm not even gonna bother getting into that. Yeah. As far as this race is concerned, though, that finish. Oh my goodness. Just, oh my goodness. I didn't know how to here's the thing. I did not know how to react in the moment while watching it, but after being able to sit on it some more and be able just to take in what I was watching, I don't think I've seen a greater finish in the entire almost 20 some odd years I've been watching this sport than that one right there. For real, what a finish. That finish, of course, I'm probably going to jump on the same bandwagon as everybody else, but I don't care. That finish was eerily similar. Of course, if you've seen Cars, obviously, you know where I'm going with this. That finish was eerily similar to the finish at the end of the first race, the opening race in Cars 1. So similar to it.
Basically,
literally so similar to it.
Basically, Cars 1 predicted the future 18 years later. Who would have thought?
It did. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? A movie from 2006 basically predicted the finish of one of NASCAR's races. Who would have thunk it? Not me. That's for sure.
Not me either. Not me either.
Wow. I can't believe it. I just cannot believe that's what we got. We got the Cars finish in real life.
Which this begs the question. You know, Suarez won the race. Again, this begs the question.
Oh, yeah.
Did Chip Weathers win the opening race in Cars 1?
If I'm going to be honest, I feel like he did. I kind of feel like it.
It would be funny as hell if Kyle Busch stuck out his tongue coming to the line.
He probably was. Who knows?
There was actually a meme of that, of someone popping a tongue in the front of Kyle Busch's nose, making it seem like it's a three-way.
I saw that. Yeah.
You saw that.
I did see that on Instagram earlier this week.
Swear, if Kyle Busch actually admits that he stuck his tongue out, man.
I can't see it. Just wow, man. Just what a finish. Just that rivals obviously so many of the amazing finishes that we've seen as far as photo finishes like been concerned in the last decade and a half, like Talladega 2011. Trying to think, there's some other really good ones too. Obviously Darlington 03. Like, my God, man, just that rivals those finishes. Oh my God, just I don't know what else to say. Just it's been a wild 2 weeks in 2020. This 2024 season so far has been a banger.
Yes, it has.
2 weeks in. And who knows how this one's going to go this weekend in Vegas. Now, I don't expect it to be obviously as good as those two tracks were. Because, of course, Atlanta now is a baby play track. It's technically a play track now. It's still a mile and a half, but it's technically a play track now. Obviously, Daytona, it's Daytona. But I'm really hoping, though, especially like for new fans coming in, that they don't expect that kind of racing every single week. Because you're not going to get that kind of racing every single weekend. It's not going to happen
every single time.
I'm expecting this one to be a semi down-to-earth, kind of mediocre race this weekend where it's one guy dominating a little bit, or it might be a couple guys that'll take the reins a little bit every now and again. I don't expect it to be a massive, crazy race. Like, we've had 2 races in a row where we had bangers of races. We're probably due in for one that's like a little bit lackluster and a kind of like let's say like a 7 out of 10 or like a 6 out of 10 kind of a race. We're kind of due for that.
So not bad, but kind of not great in that sense with that score.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this race. This race at Vegas this weekend is probably going to be around that, where it's good, but it's not great.
Whereas, again, as of this recording, Las Vegas is the upcoming race. Now, here's the question.
Yep.
Will Las Vegas, the racing product for that, top the F1 race?
From this weekend?
Yes, from this weekend. Yep.
Oh, without a doubt. Of course it's going to. Yeah, of course. Of course it's going to. I mean, there's no way it wouldn't. I know when I tune into tomorrow's race, even if it's not going to be the most exciting race in the world, I know I'm going to see much more action than I got to see today. That's for darn sure.
So you're saying NASCAR has more...
I had the race on. I had the F1 race. Yeah. I mean, dude, not to mention the mile and a half package for the Gen 7 the last 2.5 years has been a banger. Like, the mile and a halves genuinely have become some of the best racing that NASCAR's had racing the mile and a half in a while. Because, of course, obviously, we remember back in 2018 and 2019, the intermediates sucked at that time. They were terrible.
Well, minus the All-Star race.
Well, yeah, that's because that's because in 2018, they had restrictor plates and all that stuff. They added restrictor plates, And then the 550 package was just decent for the All-Star race at that point. But that was then. And that was in the early days of the 550 package. That was in the early portions of it.
The 550 package was awful, wasn't it?
The 550 package, in general, in my humble opinion, is the worst racing package I think I have ever seen in my life as a NASCAR fan.
Period?
Point blank period. It's the worst. No other package I have ever seen in my life has it where the car that's catching the leader or catching a car in front catches up to them, and then they hit a wall of air that propels the car they're catching forward. That should not be happening, where you just get stopped by a wall of air and the car you're catching just instantly pulls away from you. You just hit just a bunch of drag. That's all that it is. You can catch a car, but the second you get to their back bumper, boom, drag. You're instantly getting pulled back while the car ahead of you instantly pulls away from you. That should not be happening.
I think you mentioned it in episode 3, 2020 Kansas in the fall, when the one Logano won, but Kevin Harvick had the fastest car, but couldn't get around him because dirty air.
Literally, dirty air. All Logano had to do was just disrupt Harvick's run. Harvick would get close. And not to mention, NBC literally took you on board with Harvick the whole time. And I'm going to tell you right now, that was one of the most frustrating things that I think I had ever had the chance to witness as a fan. Just to watch Harvick close in over and over and over again, only just to be disrupted by dirty air constantly, despite having the much faster car and the fact that with a 750 package or even an 800 plus or more, he would have blown by Logano in less than 2 laps. But all Joey had to do was just block. As long as he blocked Harvick's run, Harvick wasn't going to get around him. That was it. All Logano had to do was block, and Harvick wasn't going to be able to get around him at all, whatsoever. Even Bowman. Bowman had no chance either. He was somewhat far back, but same thing even with Bowman. He wasn't going to get around Harvick either because of dirty air. Like, they were all going to stay in between first, second, and third. They were all going to remain exactly where they were because there was no way any of them were getting around each other at all unless Logano slipped up the racetrack and ended up moving up out of the groove, and Harvick was able to get underneath him and didn't get put in and trapped in Logano's dirty air or whatever, or unless he spun. But as long as Joey just blocked every single run that Harvick had, he was winning the race regardless. There was no way he was getting around him, and that's exactly what ended up happening.
You were frustrated when the checkers flew, weren't you?
And I wasn't the only one. I mean, I was already angry enough that Jimmy had a day and was running around like the mid-20s, and that's exactly where I think he finished. Just he had a horrible race all around and couldn't do anything all day. But that race was so frustrating to watch. Just watching Harvick close in over and over, only to have dirty air just disrupt his runs every single time, and Logano just kept pulling away every single lap because all he had to do was block and just dump dirty air on the front end of Harvick's car, was one of the most frustrating finishes I ever had to watch as a fan. That shouldn't have been happening, and I was like, I don't think NASCAR understood this. I mean, they understand it now, thank God, to a certain extent. But they looked at, like, how many times have you ever heard them say, oh, we like what we're seeing. We like what we're seeing. We like what we're seeing. Dude, what you have to understand is close racing is, like, what they failed to understand at the time was close racing is not the same as good racing.
Didn't you mention that before? I swear you did.
Yep. I know I definitely did. And that's the facts. Close racing, and the same thing goes for F1, IndyCar, etc. Close racing is not the same as good racing. It's not. Just because the field is close and just because the racing has all the cars bunched up together is not the same as good racing. It's not the same as having cars be able to pass. If the cars can't pass, it's not good racing. The field may be close together, but if they can't pass, or if they can't make runs on each other, or if they can't put on a good show that has guys jockeying for positions every race, that's not good racing. You're just following the leader at that point. No one wants to watch that. Where you're following the leader for 20-some-odd laps at a time. That's not good racing.
You're just playing follow the leader.
That's all that it is. And guess what? All those different manufacturers or different sponsorships or whatever, you're telling them, hey, we guys want you in. Guess what? They're not going to come. You got to get the product on the field correct first.
You say the same applies for F1.
The same thing. Because guess what? Some people, they're not going to stick around long term. They're not. Casuals are people that are just getting into the sport. If you can't get the product on the racing right, if you cannot get the racing product right, fans are not going to stick around. They're not. You got to get the racing right first.
That reminds me. Dave, Bryce, I don't know if you two remember this, but obviously we all remember last year Max Verstappen just whipped the floor with everybody. But at that same time, again, you two, I don't know if y'all remember this, but here in the States, F1 had lost over 600, let me repeat this. F1, again, here in the States, F1 had lost over 600,000 fans because Max's dominance.
I was about to say, gee, I wonder why.
Not just because of the close racing, to your point, Bryce. Also, there has to be at least a different winner every now and again.
Like, that's what I'm saying too. It's like, yeah, sure, watching one guy win and showcasing his dominance and showing that he's a superstar, yeah, that definitely works for him, obviously. But as far as the sport is concerned, you think that's going to help the sport grow long term? Watching the same guy just dominate and whip the field every single week? No, it's only going to hurt it.
Exactly.
If people are going to lose interest eventually if they're just watching the same guy. And of course, I'm going to bring this back even to myself for a second here. I'm a big Jimmy Johnson fan. Obviously, you already know this, but even I have to admit it. Even being a Jimmy Johnson fan, watching him be so dominant and win as much as he did in the 2000, this guy won 5 straight championships, 5 in a row. And people got tired of it real fast. The ratings dipped, not just because of Jimmy winning, but I mean, there was also more than just Jimmy winning. It was like the ratings were dipping because of other things too. But I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and act as if that wasn't probably even like somewhat of a small role that even played into NASCAR's downfall in the 2000s. That's how it is. Watching one guy, I mean, look at even the NFL, for example, and look at football. The New England Patriots winning the Super Bowl or making the Super Bowl almost every single year and winning it, the ratings dipped significantly because of watching Tom Brady win every single freaking year. Yes, dominance in a way. Well, of course, that's part of every sport. And yes, while it may not be exciting, definitely showcases who are the superstars and who are the guys that need work. But it doesn't help a sport grow long term when you're watching the same thing every single week. People eventually get tired of watching the same thing because they feel like they're just wasting their day, wasting like several hours of their day that they're never going to get back when they could be watching or doing something else. And while they're watching the same 3 things every single season, every single year, every single week, they're going to get tired of it. They're going to stop watching, and rightfully so. Can you blame them? Not really.
Because again, if you see the same driver winning over and over and over and over and over and over and over, I think you get the idea of what I'm trying to say.
Yep, people are not going to stick around long term. They're not. And not to mention too, I'm not saying Verstappen's cheating, obviously, because obviously he's not cheating by any means. But I'm just saying, even if it came down to the point too where like they're cheating, then that'd be even worse if they were cheating. Of course, again, he's not. But I'm just saying, if that was the case, that'd be even more of a black eye. That'd be even worse.
Exactly. But it's just him. It's just him.
He's just that good. He's just built different. He's just that good. That's the only reason. Like, he's not cheating. He's not overly like the best in the world. He's just that good as far as everyone else is concerned. I mean, Hamilton and Alonso, they're on their way out soon. And everybody else, they're just lagging behind.
It's hard to believe
they just can't keep up.
Hard to believe Fernando is still doing this despite being on the grid since 2001. Yeah, it's been that long.
It's like they're struggling to keep up. It's like we've seen this time and time again. Everybody else is just struggling to keep up at this point, young and old. Like they are just struggling to keep. And not to mention, it's not even fully their fault because it's not like how NASCAR and even IndyCar is, where everybody runs under like the same specs and everything. Everybody runs under the same package, everything else. No, F1 is specifically garnered to the elites, and it's garnered to everyone, to the hard working people, like to like a lot of rich people and everything else. Red Bull is one of the richest teams in the sport right now, like next to like Mercedes, Ferrari, etc. Literally, it's like they're the best team, right? And not to mention, nothing for nothing, they got some of the best parts.
Yes, they do.
It all comes down even to the engineering aspect. Their engineers at Red Bull are just that damn good. They're just that good at putting their cars together.
Ever since this ground effect regulations since 2022, Red Bull, they're the team to beat. They're the team to beat.
Everybody else has their head stuck so far up their rear end they can't get out of their own way, and they're constantly putting together really crappy cars.
And unfortunately, they struggle to keep up with Red Bull. It makes life easier for Red Bull to run away from the rest and walk off with the dub.
I mean, my goodness. Don't even get me started in 2022 with the F1 W13 with the Mercedes car. That car, oh my goodness, had no straight line speed.
No, it did not.
None.
No, it did not.
I remember watching, I think it was Brazil in 2022. I think it was Hamilton was out front, or I think he was at least second or something like that. Or he had the lead on a restart because they had stayed out. They didn't pit. Hamilton instantly got eaten up by Verstappen because he had no straight line speed. None.
And not to mention, you're saying Brazil. Hamilton and Verstappen even made contact.
Oh my God. Verstappen left him in the dust. He got around him so quickly. Hamilton didn't even have a chance to even fight back. He had no straight line speed. It seemed like he was like 90 miles. He felt like he was 90 miles an hour slower than Verstappen down that straightaway.
You're saying the Mercedes W13 was that slow.
It was that slow.
You know why? They got the engineering wrong.
And that's what it comes down to. The engineers at Mercedes right now are crap. They suck. They're crap. They're terrible.
That Mercedes was pretty much poo-poo. Almost similar to the Ferrari 2020.
You said 2020.
Yeah.
The SF1000.
2020.
Oh, that year.
Yep. 2020.
That year. And that year, Hamilton won his 7th championship in that almighty
That was great to
11.
see.
What?
That was great to see, obviously.
Yes, it was. I was a happy camper when I saw that. Dave, I think
Not to mention the fact too, also Hamilton has the most wins as far as all time is concerned.
most wins, most podiums, most poles. Statistically speaking, he's the GOAT of F1.
Pretty much.
But here's the question for you, though. Who is the GOAT between Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher? I'm asking this to you both.
Tell you what, it's like, look, don't get me wrong. As much as I want to give it to Hamilton, I just feel like Schumacher is just a little more of a better driver. So I'm going to keep it as Schumacher. I mean, even though, yes, of course, at this point, Hamilton obviously has way more wins than Schumi than just at this point. I think Schumi's got, 91, when I could last recall. I still feel like Schumacher is just a better driver, I feel like. And I feel like if you put Schumacher right now in his prime in today's F1, I feel like he's just as good, if not better, than Hamilton, Verstappen, and the rest. I just feel like Schumacher is just that good.
Which he is.
So, in my humble opinion, he is the definitive GOAT of F1. That's just my opinion.
Especially when
as big of a Hamilton fan as I am, I just feel like Schumi is just better.
And when you take that Schumacher's won 5 straight championships into account.
Yeah. So I gotta keep him there. Hamilton's a close second, but I just gotta keep Schumi there. I can't put him over. I can't.
For some reason, Michael Schumacher, what I just said, winning 5 in a row, doesn't that remind you of something? Or someone?
Yep. My boy Jim Jam.
There you go. You know who I was referring to.
Oh yeah.
Dave, Schumacher, or Hamilton?
Hamilton.
Elaborate.
Hamilton has always been. He's pretty much like considered like one in a lifetime generation drivers. He's also very good in the wet. We've seen that. He has done incredible drives, even not in the best car.
I'm thinking again, Brazil 2022, when he still got second on the podium either way in the crappy W13.
Yes.
Or even 2009 when he won 2 races in the crappy MP424. So to your point, I can see where you're coming from. Now you said he is a rain master.
Yes.
So too is Ayrton Senna. Especially when you take Darlington 1993 into account. But Dave, you heard what Bryce said about what he said about close racing doesn't always mean it provides good racing. You heard that part?
Yes, I did.
Do you agree or disagree?
No, I agree. I mean, it's pretty much. Well, that goes for most motorsports.
And not just F1.
Yes.
Bryce, you still there?
Yep.
This was your second podcast episode. And how do you feel about being in the second episode of Turn 4 Sparks Controversy?
Pretty good, actually. I mean, I definitely want to be on more of these as we do some more of these in the future. These are definitely really, really fun to be a part of. I mean, obviously you already know, but of course I've been a part of, a lot of your other future past products before then. I've absolutely enjoyed being a part of those. But I do feel like too, being able to be a part of these podcasts is also another way, not only to, how should I put this? Not only just be able to talk more racing and everything else, but also even get even other people's perspectives too, because it's really nice to be able to also get in touch and also talk to other people too that have the same interests as we do when it comes to motorsports or whatever, and be able just to sit down and discuss these kinds of topics and give our overall thoughts and feelings, opinions, or whatever it is we want to get out there about these certain topics and stuff. And it's really, really nice to be able to do this and have fun with it too. So yeah, overall, it's great to be a part of these things. There's not much else I can really say about it.
Dave?
Yeah, I always enjoy doing these podcasts. And yeah, looking forward to how the rest of the season goes.
But not only the F1 side of things, but this podcast station.
Oh yeah, because we have plenty of ground that we can always touch on almost any topic when it comes to these podcasts. I mean, hence the name. What is it?
Turn 4 Controversy.
Yeah, because I mean, we especially can get into a lot of controversial topics too.
Dude,
that really will get
We
people
already
talking.
covered up a good amount of controversial topics. Team orders, the Daytona 500 from this year.
Like, just so many different topics and so many different controversial moments and everything too. Because obviously, they are obviously some of the biggest talking points that everybody has an opinion on. Because of course, when it comes to a controversial topic, everybody's got an opinion on that. Everybody does.
Silverstone 2021. We covered that one up too. Another thing. It just clicked in my mind just now. Dave, do you know why we've been in this for F1? We've been in this regulation since 2022. Do you know why that is?
FIA?
To aid closer racing and to, more importantly, aid more overtaking.
I mean, they kind of, that's what they were hoping. But I guess more overtakes? Yeah, we kind of have that. Closer racing? Yes and no.
Why the yes?
Yeah, because I mean, even today you saw some you did see some overtakes or whatnot. through the day every now and again. But yeah, this is a sport that desperately, though, and I mean this wholeheartedly. They need to improve their racing package because, oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever seen a much more worse racing package than this one. I mean, even with the 550 package in NASCAR, at least you could have some moments where they'd pass every now and again. Here, it's just like with F1, it's like you rarely, if ever, see any overtaking whatsoever. And in a sport, I mean, not to mention, one of the main reasons that I had even seen why they even put DRS in the first place all that years ago was because of the fact that there was barely any overtaking going on.
Yes, but also another reason too, Dave. You remember the F duct, don't you?
Yes.
That's another reason why too, because when F ducts were banned for 2011, they were brought in to reduce drag and simultaneously aid closer racing and overtaking opportunities, but more so to reduce drag. That's why DRS came in the first. Basically, the F duct was it was basically DRS beta, is what that was. And since 2011, we've had DRS ever since.
That's so crazy.
But to your point, Bryce, DRS was added in to aid overtaking.
I figured as much because even
But
like
even
back
with
during that time
DRS,
period,
even with DRS, you
them.
don't even see that. You don't even see much overtaking.
That's the problem. So it's like, and that's the issue. And that's if it almost feels like DRS is it's not fully a failure, but it almost does feel like a failure because it isn't fully doing what it's supposed to do.
So you're
and that's
saying
literally supposed to bring more overtakes going.
So you're saying it's kind of pointless then?
It is. I mean, it is kind of pointless because it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. And that was brought on to bring on more overtaking and more passing and all that stuff. And as you've seen, even recently, there's really not much of that, if not ever, to be real. So it's like, not to mention the fact that the field's so strung out. So that's another problem.
Monza, it's nothing but a DRS train all throughout.
It is. It is such a DRS train. It's ridiculous.
And yet people say...
And I mean, of course, you would expect it to be because of the fact that those long straights are there, especially that long one all the way on the front stretch. Like, that's one of the longest DRS zones in F1. One of the longest.
And because of that, again, the DRS train effect.
And then it's crazy because of the fact that you have that long DRS straight there. And then even though you're still using DRS, you then got to make sure you brake early to be able to get through those S's right there through that first corner. That first little chicane, you got to make sure you brake good enough to be able to not only carry speed still, but to be able to make that corner and get through it, effectively and persistently.
And make it stick.
That's I feel like that's one of the most difficult first corners in F1 because you're literally coming off of a very fast, and I mean a very fast DRS straight line zone that just has nothing but straight line speed. And then you got to make sure before you get to that corner that you got on the brakes good enough to be able to not only still carry a decent amount of speed, but to be able to get through that corner good enough. Because that's a very tight chicane. Very tight.
With little to no room for error. One mistake, you're done.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. Considering how tight it is. I mean, not to mention it's extremely tight, especially on the starts too. You got everybody trying to fight for the same real estate.
Exactly. And more often than not, sometimes it works. Most times it doesn't work.
It don't.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I'll say sometimes it'll work, then most times, of course, it don't.
Wait a minute.
I mean, what do you expect? You have that corner is so narrow.
Dave, do you remember 2010? The Italian Grand Prix that year?
Yes.
Do you remember the start?
You said 2010, right?
Yes.
Yes.
When Jenson Button and Fernando Alonso made contact at the first chicane?
Yep.
But they both managed to still kept it on the track and finish on the podium. Alonso won, JB with P2. You remember that, don't you?
Of course I do.
And also, sorry to bring this up, Lewis Hamilton crashing out on the opening lap.
It's like, no.
Dave, do you remember who Lewis Hamilton made contact with at the 2010 Italian Grand Prix? Want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Felipe Massa.
Ah,
Ew.
2011, with those two, they were magnets all throughout the season. Because I'm pretty sure you remember, especially Lewis and Felipe, they always come to blows. Monaco, Singapore, Japan, India, Silverstone.
yeah, it was pretty common.
Now, there's a question. Was 2011 a good season or a bad season for Lewis because of that? Not to mention, Lewis had a lot going on in his life personally during the 2011 season. Hence, why his racecraft was not up to par. At least I feel like.
I would say it was decent, but up to his standards, probably not.
So you're saying it was a mediocre season for him then,
Yeah.
despite 3 wins: Shanghai, Nürburgring, Abu Dhabi. I tell you, 2011 for Lewis was an out of control year for him. His teammate JB finished ahead of him with second place in the standings and was the more consistent driver at McLaren. Again, despite 3 wins, much like Lewis, Bun was more consistent. And Dave, I'm sure you remember Montreal that year.
In 2011?
Yes,
Oh, was that the one that Jensen won
yes,
with multiple penalties, drive-through penalties,
yes.
and the race that pretty much what led to the 2-hour mark.
So past the 2-hour mark.
Well, I mean, that was before they implemented, because that was like nearly a 4-hour race.
It was 4 hours. That race was crazy. You watched it live, I'm sure.
I did. I said I watched the entire thing, even when it was red flag for the longest time.
You and me both. Wait, Bryce, you remember, because you watched part of it on a group call.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did.
How time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah. Doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Well, 2011 was 13 years ago. May not seem like long ago, but it was kind of long ago.
God, I miss 2011.
Yeah, but the thing is, Jimmy Johnson, despite winning 2 races.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
What?
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about our 2011 season.
Well, you still got 2 wins. You can at least be happy with that.
Yeah. I
Wait,
guess.
Jimmy Johnson finished 6th in the standings, right? In 2011?
Yeah.
Hey, it's still not bad.
It's still good, but it's just he came all that was a season where he was coming off of winning 5 straight championships.
Well,
I mean, yeah, we were due for a lackluster season, yeah, but it's just like, man,
it just goes to show
I didn't expect the fall off to be I didn't expect the fall off to be that bad. Think of it, but our 2011 season though is tame compared to the last 3 to 4 years of his
I
career.
was about to say,
So that's tame. That is tame compared to the pain I had to go through from 2017 all the way through 2020.
you basically just took the words right out of my mouth. Question is, we're going to the F1 side of things. Will Lewis Hamilton have a good season at Mercedes in his farewell tour with the team before jumping ship to Ferrari the following year, next year?
Oh, I hope. I just hope he can win at least one more race.
You and me both.
Dude, it's been what now? Like 3 whole calendar years at this point that he hasn't won a race? He hasn't won a race since 2021. He's gone the last 2 seasons without winning a race.
Saudi 2021 was his last win.
At this point now, he hasn't won a points-paying event in 3 whole calendar years.
When I think of that race, I think of that moment when he and Verstappen came to blows. Dave, I think I think we touched on it in the pilot.
Yes, we did.
Bryce, you remember that moment, don't you?
And I wish I could forget it.
But we got the last laugh since we won either way.
Pretty much.
But then the next race that night happened.
Yeah, that night.
That's how I dub that race. If you know, you know. That's how I dub it. That night. That night.
Should have won the championship.
Yep.
Literally, should have. Literally,
So-
should have won the championship. The race,
You
after
know
that,
what?
the race
You know what?
under that safety car should have been over.
You know what, Dave? You already said your take. Bryce, I want to hear your take.
The fact that they even chose to restart the race after that safety car was the dumbest thing ever. The race should have been over after that. During that safety car, that should have been it. The race should have been over. It should have been over, man. It should have been over. But no. Let's hit the reset button. Let's hit the restart button, and then let Verstappen run away with it.
You know why they did that, right?
They didn't want the championship to end. They didn't want to end under a safety car.
Precisely.
They didn't. They didn't want to end under the safety car. But tell you the truth, that's what they should have done. If that's what it should have been, Lewis should have had 8. He should have 8 championships right now. He should have 8.
Dave,
Technically, he does. Technically.
Dave, we had this discussion in the pilot.
Yep.
And I remember you saying you still don't know why Michael Massey did what he did that night.
Because, well, there really was no point to even do like a final shootout. One, Latifi's car was still on the track. It was not recovered. I mean, at that point, yeah, they really should have just ended under the safety car. They shouldn't really care what the fans thought it was going to end on the safety car or not. Their priority is mostly on safety. Marshals are still on the track. The race director did not follow the procedure for safety car. If they're going to allow lap cars, it has to be all of them and not the select ones that were in between Hamilton and Verstappen.
Yep. Wait, who brought the safety car? It was Nicholas Latifi was the brought the safety car, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because he crashed right, just a little bit, just pretty much under the hotel. He
I
pretty
figured
much
as much.
crashed right there, and that's like a mid-slow turn. But still, that's it should have been safety car should have been just ended, and yeah.
I remember Latifi also got didn't Latifi even get death threats from fans went after Latifi after the race too.
Yes, they did. Remember. Yes, they did.
Fans let Latifi. It wasn't even Latifi's fault. He crashed. Right. The fans went after him. I'm just I felt so bad for him. He didn't deserve all that blowback. That wasn't his fault.
No, I mean it was more Michael Massey's fault because he failed to do the procedure.
Hence,
Latifi crashed, but that wasn't his fault. He didn't deserve all that blowback. He got all that pushback from fans for no reason. That wasn't his fault. Just unjustified. I mean, I get fans being angry, but who you should have been angry about, is him. Be angry at the FIA. Don't be angry at Latifi. Yeah, he brought the caution. He brought the safety car out and all that mess. But at the end of the day, blame the FIA and race control. Blame them. They're the ones who wanted the race to come down to an exciting, thrilling finish when they should have just ended under the safety car.
Yeah.
That's what they normally do. I don't understand why this was any different. But obviously it's because it was a championship race and they didn't want the championship race to end under the safety car. That's why they wanted it to be an exciting, thrilling finish.
Well, like I said earlier, that, there's multiple times during that season that Verstappen should have, mostly later in the calendar, that he should have been penalized, but he didn't. He pretty much got slapped on the wrist multiple times because the race director didn't want to interfere with the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Monza 2021.
Mm-hmm. So if they actually gave Verstappen the penalties he actually did deserve, Hamilton would have won that regardless if he finished second or not.
And
Also, he also, well, his silly mistake in Baku was on him
with Lewis,
because
right?
he should have had. Yes, he should have had that.
When you hit that magic button,
'Cause-
when you had the magic button on.
Yes, he only had like a few laps. He just had to just overtake Perez at the turn one, and that should have been it. And he would have had probably the enough points, regardless whatever happened in Abu Dhabi.
When I saw that live when Hamilton went off at the restart at Baku, I almost pulled my hair out because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But back on the Abu Dhabi 2021 subject before we close off this recording, Bryce, I don't know if you recall or don't know if you know about this, but when the safety car was ending to begin the one lap shootout, the infamous one lap shootout at that, I can't even talk, infamous one lap shootout at that. I don't know if you've seen the onboard footage, but Max overtook Hamilton. It's kind of hard to make out, but you can see Max overtook Hamilton under the safety car.
I don't remember. I did not remember that. I cannot. That's wow. So that actually ended up happening. I forgot that he did that.
Yeah.
And they let it stand.
Yeah.
Well, then the following season in 22, they don't allow drivers to do that for like the like restarts after like a safety car. You can't go side to side. You have to be behind. They call it the what's that? I think the Verstappen clause now. That you can't go, but in between them going into a corner.
In other words, you can't go side by side.
Yeah.
Because if you do, you can.
That's obviously how it should be under the safety car.
Oh, reminds me. Which reminds me, when Latifi crashed out, that was with under 5 laps to go.
Yeah, and it was getting to like four. It was like 4 or 3 laps, and Latifi's car wasn't recovered. It was still there, and Marshall's were still there.
Monza 2022, when Ricciardo had his power unit problem. Again, less than 5 to go, from what I can remember. As we all know what happened in Abu Dhabi 2021. Monza 2022, they ended under the safety car. Again, mind you, with less than 5 to go, when Ricciardo had his power unit problem, which triggered the safety car.
And also, going further back, I think that was 2013. He won his race in Canada under safety car. I think that was 13 because he was still 22. No,
We're going to Ricciardo, right? If you're going to Daniel Ricciardo, it's 2014.
14, okay. It was one of them because I know he was Vettel was still there.
Which he was. Red Bull in 2014, Vettel's last year with that team. Unfortunately, didn't do so well, despite 4 podiums.
That's pretty much why those are cases that races have ended under the safety car. It's purely about safety, not about entertainment. It's more about the safety. That's why it's a safety car.
And that's
if it's going to end under safety car, then so be it.
And
fans can whine about it, but that's all about safety.
Exactly. You said it's not about entertainment.
It's not. That's the safety has. I mean, danger is still there because of motorsports, but they have done things like the Halo. Of course, they implement that because of Bianchi.
You Bianchi in 2014.
Now, I'm still not a big fan of the Halo. I know it is. Yeah, I mean, because aesthetic, it doesn't look good. I don't like it, but it's for safety. I had to deal with it.
Well, we're going that way. 2025.
I still miss how the F1 cars were before the Halo.
So 2017?
Yes.
Without the Halo concept.
No, I'm pretty sure 2017 had it.
Well, they were testing it, but
Okay. Right.
2018 was when the Halo ran in the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which reminds me, Bryce, I didn't think I got your take on the Halo.
It definitely was weird, obviously, seeing it for the first time for sure. It definitely does, sure. I can definitely agree that it probably does, in a way, look weird. Because, of course, traditional open wheel cars do not have stuff like that. Even the Indy cars, same thing. Because even Indy cars has got like the same thing going on too, where they have like a very like an enclosed like
Wins.
cockpit or whatever now. Because same thing that always been happening over there with IndyCar, where like a lot of deaths were going on, obviously as well with the fact that those are also open wheel cars and stuff too. So now they have an enclosed cockpit and all that too, like the Halo bar is. I mean, it's different than the Halo, but it's still exactly like it to a degree. But long story short, though, me, I do like the Halo. Sure, I do think it looks maybe a little bit wonky, a little bit weird, but there's a reason why it's there. It's for safety reasons, and I'm just gonna just put it to you straight. You guys remember Zhou Guan Yu's terrible, just terrifying flip at Silverstone just 2 seasons ago, back in 2022, right?
Yes.
Just that terrifying, just slide, just that long slide upside down, and then he just flips over. I think it was the tire barrier into that guardrail all the way at the very end of that first corner. Dude, if that Halo bar wasn't there, he'd have died. It's either a serious head injury or he's dying. God, same with Roman Grosjean back at Bahrain in 2020. If that Halo bar ain't there, he's dead.
Dude, he went straight through the damn guardrail.
The car was cut in half.
Dude, given how the car was
sliced open like a sandwich.
Given how the car was in the aftermath, and went through the damn thing, went through the guardrail. Had that
literally just sliced in half, like he sliced a sandwich.
Ain't no way he would survive that crash. Ain't no way.
No, he's dead.
Exactly.
Same thing even today's dude. If this was even in 2014, he's dead. He's dead. Without the Halo bar, he's dead.
You basically just took the words right out of my mouth. Again.
Like, that's it. So the Halo, while it does look wonky, I like it because of the fact that, sure, again, the cars look a little weird, but dude, it saved the drivers' lives more. I mean, I got to give up another one. This is another more recent one. Do you remember? I think it was, I forget what track it was. It was where Verstappen and Hamilton crash, and Verstappen's car jumps over Hamilton's, and Verstappen's car jumps over Hamilton's car, and I think one of the tires hit Hamilton in the head.
Yes. Well, almost,
like on top of his head.
The tire made contact with his halo.
If that Halo bar is not there, Hamilton's dead too, or at least has a severe concussion.
Yes. Again,
that's another one.
Thank God for that.
That's another one. Because that car literally jumped over his. Like, dude, if that, I cannot express to you how lucky he is that Halo bar is implemented and that's there. Because good God, if that Halo bar wasn't there in that incident, I think we're talking about Hamilton getting some years cut off of his career, maybe even his life, without that Halo bar.
Well, that accident wouldn't happen if Verstappen would have let off because he was going to be on the inside, and there was like no room to overtake.
Exactly.
So
at all.
Yep, Verstappen being Verstappen took the risk, and it didn't work out for either of them.
No.
Nope.
And also, Calvin, we talked about last year's Qatar that Hamilton got fined for walking across the track
the goddamn racetrack.
Yeah, well, Verstappen did the same thing in 21,
he didn't get no fine.
He didn't get fined,
but Hamilton did.
So, yeah,
the inconsistency of the FIA.
That's laughable, man. It's just laughable. Verstappen rules. That's what this is.
At this
It
point,
almost feels like Verstappen's their little golden boy.
you
Well,
pretty
I'm
much
pretty
summed it up.
sure FIA. It seems like the FIA favors Red Bull.
It feels like that's for sure.
Well, so it's pretty much like the recent. Well, I'm not sure you heard that Christian Horner was cleared of the allegations,
Which he was. I've heard about that.
or it was dismissed. Whatever.
It was dismissed. Yes.
I heard people said the final verdict came down to Massey. No, I'm just kidding. No,
I was
but
about to say.
it seemed like it was like that, like the FIA favors Red Bull for some reason.
And I feel like they've been favoring Red Bull since 2021, I feel like.
Yeah.
But mainly Max Verstappen. Mainly Max Verstappen. At least that's how I feel like.
He does nothing wrong. If he does anything wrong, he'll get it more like a slap on the wrist.
Basically.
Just like how Red Bull went over the cost cap.
Cost cap.
And then they didn't really get punished in a way that didn't really hurt them.
Again, they got a slap on the wrist. Really, no punishment.
No. They only got penalized for the CFD and less time in the wind tunnel, which it wasn't going to affect them anyway. It was completely stupid.
And they would still do the thing and win either way.
Yep.
And Dave, another thing too, you said it's about safety and not entertainment.
Yes.
Bryce, I think we had a discussion in the episode 3 when we discussed the 2022 All-Star race. You know why they did the caution out, right? When Stenhouse tapped the wall.
Yeah, that was a much different scenario. They just threw it for entertainment purposes. Like, literally, they had like, again, talking about this race makes me so angry because it was the last lap, final lap. Blaney literally crosses the finish line, and then we have to start all over again because Ricky Stenhouse Jr. grazes the wall. Oh my goodness.
Because of that, they threw the caution out.
Someone got really trigger happy in race control and threw the caution. And because of the fact that they had this stupid ass rule in place that, even unless the race finishes on the green, we got to bunch it back up and do it again. It's like, no. Everyone knows once you take the white, the race is over. I don't understand why that rule was in place just for that race alone. It's the dumbest thing I think I have ever seen. Never bring it back again. Ever. If I ever see it again, I'm done. I swear to God, if I ever see it again. I swear if I ever see it again, man.
I swear the same.
Never implement this again.
The same can be said with the caution clock. I'm sure.
Oh my God. Never bring that again either. Never do it again.
Oh, not to Dave. You and F1 fans, you can relate what I'm about to say next. Only use one set of tires the whole race. Reminiscent of 2005, when there was a rule in place in F1 where they can only use one set of tires the whole race.
Bro, just one set of tires the entire race without ever changing them. That is the dumbest F1 rule I think I have ever heard of in my life.
Which then leads to the that infamous race for the wrong reasons. If you know, you know.
Unfortunately.
I feel like nowadays with not just F1 and NASCAR, but motorsports period, it's all about the entertainment and not the safety itself. And that's the sad part.
It is the sad part. It's one of the saddest things, to be honest.
And you want to know what's even more sad? I don't see it improving anytime soon.
No.
No, because F1 is more focused on profits and entertainment.
And it has been for years. And celebrities, that too. No, seriously, F1, it's a celebrity circus.
It is. It is a celebrity circus now.
I'm not the only one who says that then.
I mean, Jesus Christ, how many celebrities do you see show up to these freaking races, especially over here in the States, when they come to Miami and Vegas and even Coda, especially Miami and Vegas? You see a bunch of celebrities showing up to these things. It's like, why? What is the point of this?
That just goes to show you that
It's just unreal
F1,
to
it's
me.
all about the entertainment purposes now, and not the actual
Well,
racing product.
I'm pretty sure a majority of those celebrities were from Hamilton.
That's a
That-
possibility.
Then
could be.
other celebrities came in. So
That could be
That is definitely a possibility.
Vegas. That was a big one for celebrities.
well,
Oh
it's
yeah, I mean, especially because considering it's Vegas.
And not to mention the prices for that damn race. I still can't wrap my head around it. How expensive the tickets were for the Las Vegas Grand Prix months ago.
I mean, I feel
Not
bad.
to mention the failure of a fiasco that was, what was it, that first practice session, I think it was?
Yes. When Carlos Sainz
I
hit
mean,
the
people-
manhole.
I mean, people were trying to deem to make it a failure. That first practice session did not, reflect what they wanted.
And yet, look what's happened.
Also, they kind of F1 kind of almost pissed off the locals in Vegas.
Which they did. Especially when they
Yeah.
boarded up the windows of the local residents who couldn't afford to watch the race.
It's like, imagine treating your own fans like shit. Imagine doing, and then not I even saw this video. Like Michael Marutz talked about, one of the NASCAR YouTubers, but he had pointed this out that there were literally security guards literally yelling at people to leave.
Seriously?
Yeah, there's literally video footage of like security guards yelling at fans or whatnot to leave and not stick around or whatnot. So I think it was them either canceling it or I think whatever was going on. But there is literal footage of security guards like, go leave or whatever they were saying, just literally yelling at people to leave. Like, imagine treating your own fans like this. Why? Who does this? Why are you treating your fans like crap like this? Who does that? These fans paid almost millions of dollars to be here, considering how expensive F1 tickets are, and this is how you treat them?
Especially where it's set in Vegas, the prices are double that.
It's like, my goodness. I mean, even F1 merch is expensive from what I've seen. Like, it's almost like $200 for one freaking hat.
Yes,
Just for a
it
team
is.
hat.
Dude, F1,
It's
F1
like, are you
ain't
kidding
no
me?
joke. F1 ain't no joke.
And you wonder why I sit here and I say that it caters to the much more richer folks and for the much more elitist people, because that's what it's supposed to pander to. That's who they've been pandering to for years.
Again, this comes
Yes,
back to what I
I'm saying
said.
from an outsider's perspective, but it's the truth. They pander to a much more rich class, high of class type of people. That's who they pander to, not the casuals and not the guys like me who have less of a fortune than they do. It's hard, and not to mention, if you want to be a driver, it's hard to get into F1. You have to have backing. You have to have money. You have to know what you're doing, and you really have to have a lot of funding and a lot of support behind you. Like, it's like a lot of even American drivers say it's really difficult to get into F1. It's hard. It's extremely hard to get into F1.
Unless you
Very
have a
difficult.
dad that probably also owns a F1 team.
In the case of Lawrence.
It's almost impossible. Almost impossible. Almost. I say almost because obviously there are people that have gotten into it, but I'm just saying it's almost nearly impossible to get into F1 considering how much you have to have just to get into it. Even that, just to even have a chance at it.
And not to mention how much is at stake just to get into F1 alone.
Yeah. It's not easy by any means. It's not.
It's not. Again, F1 is a whole different ball game, a whole different breed. Whole different breed.
Especially considering the fact that they race globally.
Yes,
they don't just race in one section. No, they race all over the globe.
All over the place.
Mm-hmm.
They race all over the world. In different countries, in different areas. Like, they race it everywhere.
Different kinds.
Well, almost everywhere.
I'm probably going to try to expand the calendar even more. That's going to put more stress on mostly the staff of the teams. I guess also drivers too.
And the drivers too,
I
especially.
can only imagine. I can only imagine just how much strain that might put on them.
Dude, I wouldn't be
But
surprised if they
also
have
on-
36 races on the calendar.
That wouldn't shock me either.
Dave, what were you saying? Were you saying something?
I mean, it does take toll more on the staff of F1 teams because it's going to be more time away from their families. They have to sacrifice more.
Especially considering
Shout out.
with this year, we have 24 races on the calendar, the most in this F1's history.
Yeah.
So it's already a strain for the teams and drivers enough as is. Question is, we've had this prediction. We made our predictions earlier. Well, the first 9 races where we got up to around 2 to 10. As far as rounds 11 to 24 is concerned, that is for a second part, a sequel, if you will. And that being said, I think we've pretty much covered up everything here. Dave?
I think so.
Yeah.
You said to me that predictions and rank delivery. Oh, one more thing. Preseason testing. Preseason testing. I forgot about that. Where do I even begin with preseason testing? Dave, I'm not sure if you caught up with preseason testing, but right off the bat, which team surprised you the most during preseason testing?
I mean, it was hard to tell because, it's preseason testing. Most teams don't want to show their hand and their full potential. Of course, Mercedes is notorious for that. McLaren kind of showed their hand last season, and we saw it after midway when all their upgrades came in.
In the stages of last year.
Yeah.
Bryce, did you follow preseason testing?
Once I saw Verstappen was on the board of one of the practice sessions, I instantly just tuned it out, to be honest. I didn't pay that much attention to it.
I think it was at that point, people, even doing preseason testing, when they saw Max Verstappen top the board, even then, they said that Max got the 2024 championship wrapped up.
Can you blame them? I felt the same. I remember seeing all those comments. I'm like, hey, I don't blame y'all.
Wait a minute, Bryce, even you said it yourself that literally everyone is calling it.
Literally, I've literally seen it. I mean, even yesterday when I looked at on F1's Insta page and I jumped on, obviously, to look at everything, and I saw Verstappen won the pole, looked on the comments section, and everyone is being vocal saying, well, see you in 2025. Oh, this is easy. Congrats, Max, on the 4th championship. See you in 2025. Literally almost everyone is vocal about it because everybody knows what to expect at this point. That's how you know you're down bad. You know it's sad when everyone literally is already predicting the outcome of what's going to happen before the season even starts.
I'm laughing just thinking about it.
It's like, you know your sport's not in the best place right now when everybody knows what's about to happen and everybody called it before it even happened. They knew what to expect. And, well, they were proven right.
Seriously, why do
We're right back where we left off.
Exactly. Seriously, why do I sense Max Verstappen winning it for the 4th time this year? Well,
Oh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
Well, 3 times in our eyes, but
it would shock me if that was the case. If it didn't happen, that would shock me.
Same, you and me both. But in all seriousness, considering that we're entering this as Lewis Hamilton's last season with Mercedes, I'm hoping he gets at least one more win with the team. At least one more win. At least.
Please.
Podiums is one thing, but a race win, I really hope that happens before he moves over to Ferrari next year.
You tell him, I hope so.
But will that happen?
Only time will tell.
You pretty much just, again, took the words right out of my mouth.
That's kind of really all I can say. Only time will tell. We'll just have to see how how his and Mercedes season even ends up going. We're just gonna have to see how everything plays out.
And until then, that's where we will end this session of the podcast recording. And until then, only the future. We'll see what the future holds. We'll see what the future holds. But meantime,
Yep.
Dave, Bryce, another one in the books. Another fun one to do.
Yep.
Got any final thoughts, you two, before I close this off?
Yeah, not much else really to say. I guess I could just say, just hope everyone that comes across this enjoyed our little podcast for today. And well, see you in the next one.
Yeah, till next time, and we'll see what happens in Jeddah.
As of this recording, which is again March 2nd, 2024.
Yes.
And Bryce and Dave, again, pleasure to have y'all on. Looking forward to being on for the next one of Turn 4 Sparks Controversy. As this concludes the 5th episode of Turn 4 Sparks Controversy. And until the next one, I, Turn 4 Productions, along with my friends Dave and Bryce, signing off the mic as always. And until next time, and for the notice, peace out, stay safe, and have a good one.